All right, welcome to the regular meeting of the Emery Unified School Board Trustees, September 13th, 2017. Let's start with the opening ceremony. Roll call, please.
So Member Collins will not be here this evening, and the two student reps are late, as will Member Langner. Member Inch?
Here.
Member Vargas?
Here.
President Merriam?
Here. And at this time, it is open for public comment. Anyone here for public comment? And I would like to remind you that we here on the board are here to listen to public comment. We refrain from replying to any comments made, but if we would like, we can ask a clarifying question. Thank you.
Hi, Lauren LaPlante, the school psychologist for the district, and I'm actually here representing Ann Martin Center. One of the board's goals is to bring comprehensive resources to the Emery community together to interact and learn. So I just wanted to get the word out that there's free parent workshops that are offered in Emeryville, and I left brochures over here. Ann Martin Center has long been a community partner with the district, and I'm trying to kind of share information about a resource that I think is underutilized, and I'd love more people to know about it. It's a nonprofit community clinic that provides psychotherapy, educational therapy, and some diagnostic testing to youth and adults, and serves about 1,000 youth throughout Alameda County each year, and provides emotional and educational support. So all year long during the school year, there's free parent education workshops in Emeryville around the corner on 55th near Doyle Street Cafe. Some of the ones coming up are executive functioning, homework help, and raising resilient kids. So this is our brochure, has a lot of resources, and it's all free. So please let people know, and if you want information, it's over there, and I'll leave some at the community service desk. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Additional public comment?
Good evening, board, superintendent, Ms. Tamery, Malcolm Waugh, one of the K teachers. I want to share just some of my notes from the training that the district had with Dr. Lori Watson on September 5th, 6th. It's mostly direct quotes. I'll just jump to Mr. Davis at the end to say, as a sort of a summary, he said the experience was positive but painful. So it's not entirely fun to read this, but I think you guys should know. So I'm just going to read my notes. First thing, second day, I told Ms. Watson her responses to each speaker were admirably on target, apt, sensitive, skilled. I told her I wished she could moderate our staff meetings. She says she can do that. She shared passages on the topic of racism relevant to public education and our district specifically. Hilliard, I don't know his first name. He's a mentor of Singleton, and he was apparently addressing teachers about teaching. We teach our cultures first, our standards second. A second passage she shared was by Ralph Ellison, who was also addressing teachers about teaching. I just have the first clause of the sentence. If you can show me how I can cling to that which is real to me. And then the rest of the sentence is basically saying, if you can do that, then you've got my attention, you've got my respect, we can have a relationship, you can teach me. That's how I interpreted that line. But the very beginning part, I'm still thinking about. I think there's a lot in that. If you can show me how I can cling to that which is real to me. She facilitated some work in dyads. I was surprised and pleased to hear Miss Sue's voice. Miss Watson asked for some feedback on the dyad activity, and Miss Sue raised her hand and she said, I feel listened to. Ms. Magruder, I must say that I was dispirited to hear what Ms. Magruder said. She said, I've been here 25 years, and it feels it doesn't mean anything. It's the respect part. Mr. Ting said, when our suggestions are completely ignored, I didn't get the rest of the sentence. There's no regard for our schedule. I don't know which middle school has no art. That's not good for the kids. Me, I'm a music teacher. I feel I'm just a body there. At this point, Ms. Watson summarized what had been said so far, an overwhelming sense of not being valued. Ms. Gilbert, I will not stick around if that continues to happen.
Time's up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Additional public comment?
Can we let Mr. Wong continue? Can we let Mr. Wong a couple more minutes to?
At this time, no. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and I know this has come up before, and I want to just reiterate, it's not normal policy to basically give or cede time to others on the podium. At this time, I will make an exception for this speaker. Go ahead, continue, Mr. Wong.
I'll repeat Ms. Gilbert. Ms. Gilbert said, I will not stick around if that continues to happen. She was referring specifically to the teaching staff at the district becoming whiter. At this point, Ms. Watson commented again, so Doc, you've taken some hits back there. I'm seeing a whole lot of emotion in here. These are folks' experience. We have to acknowledge that, validate that. Ms. Wren, I need to be respected. Miss Payne. I'd never met Miss Payne before. It was nice to meet her. I've been here 23 years at the gym and have never felt any connection to Anna Yates. The level of toxicity I've felt, there's gaps. I've only got some fragments. On a positive note, Miss Good. I have always felt valued by her. I've never felt like a team with Anna Yates. Leadership matters. I believe we are all here because we are about these kids. It starts from the top. Ms. Watson, we got some work to do, Doc. Take those punches right now, because that's how we're going to get through this thing. Right here is where I think Ms. Watson is highly skilled. I think she's surfacing truths, the individual truths of the teachers, and she's still got the aim of bringing parties together with the aim of being there for the kids. I think she's highly skilled. She gave us some prompts. I don't remember specifically what they did, but here's what I wrote down for prompt number 1. Several teachers spoke their truth with the entire district in the room. One teacher, Teacher Tree, addressed the superintendent directly. Good. But we may have a problem that can't be solved by talk. Mr. Davis, the experience was positive and painful, made me aware of what I'm not aware of. But if the conversation is not to remain a resume-building activity, there needs to be real change. And as it is, the actions don't match the rhetoric. I want to thank the superintendent for giving us this high-caliber, badly needed PD, and including the whole district. I don't believe we've ever had the entire, representatives from the entire district in the room at the same time. That was a precedent. It's a good start. And I agree with Ms. Watson. We got some work to do. I hope we can have her return to help us continue and further the conversation. Question, last thing. If we continue the conversation, continue the work, how will we know we're getting somewhere? What would count as genuine and concrete indicators of improvement or success? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wong.
Thank you.
All right, and additional public comment?
My name is Brian Donahue. I am a parent with a child in the district. My child goes to a school at Oakland Unified because there's no middle school here in Emeryville. So recently I gave Mr. Rubio, the superintendent, John Rubio, 11 questions regarding the recent mandated reporter violations about 2 alleged incidents of sexual assault here on campus from last spring. Mr. Rubio has chosen not to answer my questions, and I'm the editor of a blog in Emeryville, actually the only legitimate blog in Emeryville. There's another blog in Emeryville that's not legitimate because that editor, Mr. Rob Arias, doesn't give his readers, he hides information from his readers, the stuff that they would want to know and that he has reported on, but he hides relevant information, so that's not a legitimate blog. But Mr. Rubio, as a lot of people know, he likes to grant interviews to the illegitimate right-wing blog because that blog, basically gives him a platform, tosses him softball questions. My blog, the Emeryville Tattler, asks tough questions of Mr. Rubio. So he's refusing to answer 11 questions about his involvement in the mandated reporter incidents, which I'll go into later. But right now I wanted to announce to the board members, you've tied, especially what I call the 3 enablers, it would be the board president, Don Merriam, and Cruz Vargas, and Bailey Langner, who have tied yourselves to Mr. Rubio. You're in violation of the law now because several months ago I initiated a public records request, and this district, Mr. Rubio, is steadfastly refusing to honor my request. Now you have 10 days. A public entity has 10 days to answer a public records request, and then you're in violation of the law. So Mr. Rubio has chosen not to do that. Now he will mention that he did respond to a public records request from several months ago, and that is true, but he only responded he only answered half of the questions in the request. So the request is still outstanding, so I'm here to announce to the board tonight, I'm not getting any satisfaction from my public records request as the law says this district must do. And so I'm taking the district and Mr. Rubio essentially to court. I am hereby announcing I'm going to go to the district attorney of Alameda County, press my case that this district is not legally doing its legal minimum obligation under the law
You're out of time.
vis-a-vis public records requests. Thank you.
Would I be able to ask a clarifying question?
Sure, go ahead.
So would you be satisfied with the answer to the question of the dates that were completed of the mandatory reporting training?
That's exactly what I've been requesting.
That's what you're looking for.
And the
So
district has
if you-
not been forthcoming with that information.
If you got the information of the dates that they were completed, then you would be satisfied?
Yes, that's what I'm still waiting several months later for. The district
Okay.
is in violation, but, I would have to get that in a matter of a couple of days, and I'd have to have Mr. Rubio tell me he intends on honoring that. Otherwise,
But that's what you're looking for?
that's what I'm looking for.
Thank you.
Otherwise, I'm going to the district attorney. So if Mr. Rubio chooses to tell me that he will make that legal, or make that, provide that for me, then I will not go to the district attorney. I'll give him, a couple of days. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Good afternoon, Audrey Miles, kindergarten, TK. Just want to say that the year has started off with more of a mellow feeling. The amount of anxiety on our school site is kind of went down. I don't even know how to express it. Remembering that the last time that I spoke on this board, I was in tears, and my colleagues were leaving. I think we're at the process where we're bonding with our new staff. I feel that the new principals are amazing. I want to thank them for listening. Sometimes it's the small things, or just feeling like you're heard, or just the idea that when you make a suggestion, somebody at least acknowledges and says, well, I might not be able to do that, but you know, let's see how we can bring it to the staff and talk about it. It's the idea that you're acknowledged. So I want to thank them for all of their collaborative work. We don't feel like we're a split school because we have two principals, and I think that was one of the key issues that we talked about, that if we had two principals, we didn't want to feel like two entities, we wanted to feel like one. And I really thank you for all your hard work and dedication and levity in situations that aren't so always have levity. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Step up to the podium, please.
Hi, Shane Gilbert, third grade, and just want to piggyback on that and also say that I'm just very grateful that we went through that equity training. I've been through a lot of social justice and equity trainings and studied race in undergrad and got tons from that, but that training really gave us a chance to walk away with really, you know, skills we could apply the very next day. And it wasn't just skills, it was that it was those skills were in a context of knowledge that I think we could all grow and learn from as a staff and as a community. And one of my takeaways is that I really want to do, I've been trying since I started teaching, to do home visits, and I know that that's one way that I can actually participate and be involved in a community that I don't belong to and that I drive into in some ways. In some ways I travel from a community like this to another like this, but I'm still not in the community. So I also want to invite the board, if you want to join me for home visits or get involved in our classrooms, adopt a class. We saw, those of you who were there saw how race impacts the room and impacts certain people. So if you adopt a classroom and really, you know, look out for some of the teachers that we clearly saw are suffering from a lot of different challenges that some of us don't have to suffer from, I could just see that being a really nice concrete next step. So I just wanted to offer that to you. If you want to join me for any of those, you're welcome, as long as the family felt comfortable as well. And thanks again for that wonderful training.
Can I ask a question? What would be the best way to connect with you? Is your email address on the Emeryville website? Is that a good way to?
It is, and I'm in room 203, so open
203.
door. You can stop by room 203 anytime, third grade. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any other public comment? If not, let's go ahead and move on to the report section. And under the ETA, any representative from ETA here? Seeing none, we'll move on to CSEA.
I'll do it really quick. Lauren LaPlante, ETA
Yes, thank you.
treasurer. I did want to share that we had a really great back to school A's game. We had new staff, we had veterans, and it was a fun time, and it was another bonding opportunity for the staff, so we're going to attempt to do more of those kind of events.
Did the A's win?
Yes, we had dinner, we had our whole little section. It was good times on a Friday night.
Great to hear.
All right. It's good to hear. All right. CSEA representative?
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Marsha Parham, and I'm the CSA president. Tonight, I would like to report on the successful start of this new school year for everyone, including all the CSEA classified staff. And I also would like to thank Dr. Rubio for hiring 2 amazing principals for the elementary and middle school. One of the things that I really appreciate is they put procedures in place that were clear and They assist the classified staff to start very strong and gave us everything we needed to have a very successful start of the new school year. And it wasn't just for CSEA, but I'm just reporting on CSEA, but everyone benefited from it. So we had a successful start of the new year, and I'm hoping that the success will continue throughout the school year and years to come. I would also like to thank Dr. Rubio for hiring so many great teachers. The school feels strong. Everyone is smiling when we walk down the hallway. I hear teachers teaching. I don't hear students talking. The students are not in the hallways walking around. They're respecting the hallways. There's no trash. I mean, it's really amazing. You should come and visit and walk around the school, and you can experience it for yourself. I also wanted to give a short report about enrollment. So for the elementary school, the first day of school, we had 289 students. For the middle school, we had 155. Today, for elementary school, we have 347, and for the middle school, we have 161. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, student representatives, but we'll go ahead and move that to a later time since our representatives are detained from attending. Moving on to the superintendent's report.
It's just a picture, too, yeah, thanks. Good evening, everyone. I just really want to first thank all of our great teachers, our great staff, and our great management team for an amazing opening of the school year. I know everybody's been working very hard, and it just pleases me. We've been through a lot of change and transition over the years, and it can be very difficult to make it through change, as everyone knows, and I think all of you and all of us as a community have really come through it with flying colors. So really appreciate it. Glad to have everyone we have, and I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Really great start. I'd like to say thank you to the school board for approving our school district's race and equity policy, and really for allowing me to continue to move forward and bring the same trainers to our staff as we expand this. I'd like to piggyback on something Mr. Wall said, because as you can see from the pictures, this was the first time since I've been here, and maybe it's been the first time in many years or forever, I don't know, that we've had the custodians, the kitchen staff, the teachers, the managers, all in the same room, all lifting one another up, all helping each other get through some very difficult work. As we look at race, we look at the implications of race, how our own race affects our own bias, and what that means for student achievement. So really just want to say thank you. It was great to see the staff working together. I'm proud to be a part of this community and proud to be part of this work. So thank you for that. And that is my report. Thank you.
May I ask some follow-up questions from the last report, from the last school board meeting?
I would say that I'm not sure what you're about to ask, but I'm just giving a report regarding tonight. So if you have a question about tonight, it's up to Member Marion if you want to ask me something about tonight, but I'm not sure what you're referring to, Member Inch.
He made some statements for the last report regarding meeting Mr. Baker. Also made some statements about putting up the minutes or the transcripts of the teachers from the June 15th, and I just wanted to follow up with that.
Sure. Well, I would suggest on the first one, because I'm not 100% sure what it is, but you might want to email Ms. Emery or myself and let me know what your question is. And regarding the second item, those minutes are attached to your packets tonight. So I agreed to make that part of the public record, and I believe Ms. Emery has uploaded those. So if you look online, they're part of the public record. But I would prefer, if you don't mind, since I have no idea what you're about to ask, if you would email me your first question.
Well, I just asked it.
Okay. It seems like she's asked, you answered, I think.
No, I'm not sure I answered.
Did you speak with Mr. Baker?
Are you referring to the request out of City Schools Committee regarding Swinnerton?
No. The last time we had your update, you said that you were going to talk with Mr. Baker the next day regarding the request of Swinnerton paying for an inspection.
The answer is yes, I spoke to Mr. Baker.
Thank you very
Sure.
much.
All right. At this time, the board president's report and I do not have anything to report at this time. So we'll move on to the next item, consent calendar. Under the consent calendar, we have three items. Would anyone like to adjust or pull any of those items?
I would,
Okay, which one?
both of them.
There's three of them.
Oh, I'm sorry, the warrant?
Okay. That's item 4.1. And you said there were two that you wanted to pull?
And no, that was just the one, I'm sorry.
All right. Okay. Do I have a...
Oh, sorry, I want to pull 4.3.
Okay. With that being said, any other adjustments? Do I have a motion for the 4.3?
4.2?
Or you said you want to pull...
I want to pull 4.3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to pull 4.3?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I thought you said 4.2.
My bad.
Okay. Do I have a motion for accepting 4.2?
I'll move.
I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Member Inch?
Yes.
Member Vargas?
Yes.
President Merriam?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Now on to items 4.1, warrants.
I would like to know if this payment to the city covers all of the PBID, and are we done with that experience?
The payment to the city does cover the past due that the city was requesting, I believe, for 16-17. And so in terms of 16-17, we are done.
Any other?
Sorry,
and
what is this amount for?
The city of Emeryville has a property business development
Yeah.
tax that funds the Emeryville go-round. And for the last 10 to 15 years, the city had always told the school district we didn't need to worry about paying that. And similarly, I believe they never collected from the U.S. Post Office. And so I think that was it.
Thank you.
So we have paid for 16-17. Do you anticipate any other, aside from future payments, any other issues?
Do I anticipate any other issues? Could you clarify?
We're moving forward with this payment. There's no looking back. We're done. We're going to continue to pay the PBID in the future. There's no other gotchas or anything else coming down the road.
I always prefer to look forward and not look back. I don't know what the city's position right now and what they would like to do, but as far as I'm concerned, we're looking forward and moving forward.
We're current.
We're current for the past due for 16-17 that the city requested.
Okay, thank you very much. I support that make-around. I think it's a very good support for people in Emeryville to be able to go to places, and I'm glad that we finally paid that. Thank you.
And I would have preferred not to pay this because there was a verbal agreement on this, but given that we all said that we were going to play fair with the city, we look forward to the city playing fair with us.
All right. Okay, with that being said, do I have a motion for item 4.1?
Sure.
Do I have a second? I'll second that. Okay, roll call, please.
Member Inch?
Yes.
Member Vargas?
Yes.
President Merriam?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Now on to the last item is 4.3.
John, on 4.3, a quick question. Is there an exit interview for Mr. Labas?
We spoke to Mr. Labas after his decision. We did gather some information from him, and I don't know that Ms. Harrell has or not, but we were able to speak to him, and we spoke to him recently again just to see how his year was starting.
And Don, one of the things that we had spoken in the past, and I don't know if I thought that we had sort of shared some board directive, but if not, we may be something that we want to bring for a future date. But it's definitely my interest to make sure that we have a process, an exit process for folks leaving the district.
And that sounds fine. You want to make that a formal board policy potentially?
I would probably suggest we do it under future board agenda items. Okay.
As a discussion to define that process, or
Yes.
to see whether we?
See what we have, and then as far as any criteria, and then go from there as far as developing policy if it hasn't already been
So,
set.
great. So the future agenda item would then be for John, for you to share what, I guess, the exit process is, and then potentially have
Sure.
feedback from us? Yeah?
All right.
And I would like to point out the importance of an exit interview. We've had 5 administrators that were hired by the superintendent that have now parted ways with the district in a very short amount of time. And this is a very small district. And it's very disconcerting to see so many administrators in such a short amount of time leave the district. So I believe that exit interviews would be very beneficial.
I'd say it's disconcerting to see anybody leave. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that future agenda item.
All right. All right. With that being said, item 4.3, do I have a motion?
I'll move.
I will second that. Roll call, please.
Member Inch,
Yeah.
Member Vargas,
Yes.
President Merriam.
Yes, motion carries unanimously. And now on to discussion items. With this in mind, I want to give just kind of a brief summary I did on the last board meeting, but there's a little bit more number of people in the audience tonight. Just a reminder that this is how we formatted it per the board bylaws regarding topic of discussion or item, that the topic or discussion item will be discussed, and then from there, public comment would follow that, and then from there, clarifying questions from the board to the presenter, and then final discussion and vote. So I just wanted to give a heads up on that, so just give a little bit of reminder. So anyway, now on to item 5.1, the Yale Initiative update. Dr. Rubio, can you elaborate?
Absolutely. It's my pleasure to have some of our staff here tonight. I've worked really hard with staff to continue a strong partnership between the Emery Unified School District and Yale University. Yale has, for quite a long time, decided to use some of their resources with the goal to enhance and grow the content curriculum expertise of teachers. And I've expanded that partnership and invited Berkeley Unified to join us 2 years ago, and Berkeley is now, I think, just finished their second year joining us with Yale. We've had other veteran teachers go through the process over the years. Certainly, I didn't start this partnership, but it's my real pleasure to keep it going, keep it alive, and keep it growing. We have 2 of our teachers here tonight who were back in college this summer, living in a dorm, living the dorm life, living with dorm food in a campus that looks like it came out of a Harry Potter movie. So I'll let you guys take it away.
Hi, I'm one of the kindergarten teachers. My name is Anna Tom.
I'm the 8th grade math and science teacher, Cameron Rowe.
Yes, so this July we went back a few years and went back to college. And so this is East Bay team. There's me, Sarah from OUSD, Sally from Berkeley Unified School District, Jackie as well, and then there's Cameron. So this is East Bay representing East Bay at Yale.
Yeah, so the nice thing is that we're a small district. Most districts that were represented there were from like Washington, D.C., all of Delaware, right? So in order to have a large contingent, we've actually partnered up with Berkeley and then hopefully OUSD in the future so that we have a larger contingent and a larger pool of teachers moving forward with the Yale National Initiative.
So those that aren't familiar with YNI, is that their main focus is to really focus on content knowledge. So as an elementary teacher, a lot of PDs is on teaching strategies. With this PD, it's a lot on what you want to focus on. So what I did was on visual literacy, and then I connect visual literacy with cultural aspects, and then really digging in and doing a lot of research on Chinese calligraphy, Egyptian hieroglyphics, and Roman alphabet and the art aspect. So that's really deepening the content knowledge. And then also, another emphasis for YNI is really to connect universities with under-resourced schools. And this is to provide the PD that we experience in Yale, but locally, so more teachers can have the opportunity locally to have experienced what we experienced. And also another main focus is K-12 collaboration. So one thing that's really unique is that in my seminar alone, there was kindergarten teacher, me, sitting with teachers who teach 12th grade. Like, what do we have things in common? Well, we found something, and it was visual literacy in my seminar. Anything you want to add on?
Yeah, so my class was a little bit more fun. It was the chemistry of cooking. So we cooked. Every single day we cooked, and I don't cook, but I did cook. It was great because talking about the content, the key here is that these professors normally have PhDs, right? So their content knowledge on chemistry is far beyond my grasp. But we really don't have PDs based strictly on content. So to sit down with an expert and intensively for 2 weeks really, gather a deep knowledge of that content, it was really inspiring. I came back with like a renewed sense of like, man, I can do this. I know so much, So it was a really, really great experience from that aspect as well.
Yeah, and one last thing to add on is also there are 12 states that went to this PD, so we were able to connect with different schools from different states and just talk about our experiences, and that was amazing because, I work in Emery. I was like, oh, that only happens in Emeryville, but no, like these things, good and bad, happens in other parts of the nation. So it was great to connect with other teachers. Okay, you want to talk about daily?
Yeah, so the schedule is actually, it was a lot more intense than I expected. So you basically start off every day, we all come together as a whole group. I think there were 90 teachers there total from the 12 different states representing. So we'd get together and kind of have a quick little hour intro, and then we'd break off into our seminar groups. So this is the chemistry of cooking, obviously, bubbling up over there. So then we'd break out and go to our seminar. And in the seminars, we did a couple things. One, we learned a lot of content just from the professor. And then we got a chance to really collaborate with our peers and share our idea. The goal is to build a unit, anywhere from like a month to a month and a half, an actual unit. And so you got a real opportunity to meet and collaborate about your unit with K through 12 teachers, which was pretty awesome. And then they gave you the afternoon off. We ended around 12 for lunch, and then we just were writing. Like, I don't think I've ever written so much in my entire life. So it was great.
Yeah, there were teachers, like including us, that we would be awake till past midnight writing. Like, I don't remember doing that. But it was good. Good experience. So my was on visual literacy and illuminated text. So right here, there's illuminated text, and we really looked at what do you notice? I didn't realize like the size of the hand, it really matters, and there's so many reasons why it's the size of a hand, why the artist would, draw a bigger hand than another. So that was really awesome to learn about that. And then also comic books, how it can, when we think about comic books, we think about like, oh, it's maybe childish, but then the professor really gave me a new vision of like comic books can be serious and can really teach students about nonfiction events. So I thought that was amazing. And then that's me right here. This is at the Rare Book Library, and this is a pen that Lincoln used to sign the Emancipation Proclamation. So that was one of the highlights.
Yeah, and the other thing about just the experience as a whole that maybe I'd want to kind of note as well is that in collaborating with these people from other states, we're also open to so many resources. So we got our little Yale ID, which is pretty awesome. And my mom never thought I'd have a Yale ID. So I had my Yale ID, which got us access to everywhere. So we would go into the libraries, we used the gym, right? So I mean, we really had access to a lot of tools and resources that we just wouldn't have, in our daily lives planning a unit. So I thought that was great.
So what does that mean for us and in the classroom? So we both were about like a 20-page curriculum unit, and for mine it's arts integrated cultural studies and also integrating writing in kindergarten. And when I'm going to start that is next month.
So mine is it's chemistry in everyday cooking, and so I'm actually looking at caramelization and what's happening there, and then also talking about the denaturing of proteins. So like when you cook an egg, you denature it, but you can't put it back together again, right? It's like that tangled string. And so I'm actually making with the students something called honeycomb candy. And so it's the process of making sure that you caramelize everything to the correct temperatures and what's really happening with the Maillard effect. So the kids are excited about it. I've already warned them about it and let them know they're going to be eating their experiments, and they're pretty excited about that. So.
My kids can't eat their papers. But I would definitely encourage you guys to come and visit our classrooms as we do these lessons. We'll definitely give you updates when we are implementing these lessons. Yeah. And then lastly, so future plans, when that's one of our colleagues that went to Yale. On October 26th, we're going back to Yale to have like a unit celebration with Dr. Rubio and East Bay team. And then our future plans, which is still in the works and a lot of work, is to create a local initiative where we partner local universities, and that can be Berkeley and Mills with, schools like Emery, Oakland, hopefully Berkeley, to recreate what Yale has given us a taste of.
Yeah, so like in meeting with people from around the country and finding out how this works, it gave access to a lot more teachers to do what we did. So luckily, Yale pays for a few of us to go back. But if we could partner with a local university, it would be an opportunity for 50, 60 teachers to experience this. And just from my own personal experience is that it's invigorating. Like, it's a lot of work. I'm not joking. It's draining. But I came back to this year with like a renewed sense of, man, I can do this. And like, I felt excited and energized. And so I think moving forward, it is a long process, she's right. But in moving forward, if we can work to partnering with the university and open that up to more teachers, I just think it will improve our school greatly.
Thank you for listening.
Welcome. Any public comment regarding this item? I do have a question for you too, if you don't mind staying at the podium. It's just a quick couple questions. With your newfound enthusiasm, how are you sharing that with your peers?
You want me to take it first? All right. So so what I'm doing is we're actually meeting as a science cohort, and that's what we're actually working to set up, is that the 6th grade science teacher, 7th grade science teacher, and myself are going to start meeting and collaborating. So what I'm planning on doing is just sharing the unit with them, and then letting them come into the room and see me do it, if that's helpful, and then hopefully bring it into their classroom. And then also I'd like to actually write future units, probably not as intense as this, because I don't have 2 weeks to do it, and the resources, but to write more units that build off of that. Because the new, I don't know if you know it, the new NGSS, which is the Next Generation Science Standards, there's not a curriculum out there that has been written that align with them yet. So there's not one, like a FOSS hasn't written all the units yet. So it's a really great opportunity to share that knowledge.
So the way I'm sharing it is, through collaboration, my team and I talked about this experience, and they said, okay, well, let's have you teach it to all the classrooms. So it's 3 kindergarten classes, and we do rotations. So all of my students are going to experience this curriculum unit, and also during our collaboration, I'll debrief with my colleagues what happened and how it went. Yeah.
And then one other question having to do with how were you approached for this opportunity, or were you volunteering yourself?
It was through an email that Dr. Rubio sent, so it was to everybody. And then if you decide to continue this process, then there's this essay that you have to write, and then also your projected curriculum unit that you have to think, like, maybe this is how my curriculum unit would be, even prior to learning all the content. So yeah, that's how the process was. You want to add on?
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, quick question. What can we do for you? Are you missing anything? Do you need anything? Do you want anything?
Well, we would love for you to come and just check out like the curriculum unit, and for you to be in, just be in the classroom and see the action.
Okay. We'll absolutely do that.
And just to further a little bit more, just to actually just come up through the halls. Like, I think everyone's kind of already said it, but I'm going to say it again. This year has been awesome. It's a really great start to the year, and I think your presence there would just kind of bring the whole family together, right? Like, everybody's jumping in, right? And so just come on by. That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll add, if you don't mind, if you two don't mind, when you start your actual units, if you don't mind letting Lisa know, she can pass it on to the board in case you want to come by and on a day, maybe when you think you're at a beginning point or some point you'd like them to come by, maybe we can throw the invitation out via Lisa to the board as well, if you don't mind. Yeah?
I'm a fan of scrambled eggs. If that,
This is an information-only item, but it was good to hear that bit of information tonight. Thank you very much for your service.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
and before we move on, if I may
Yeah.
ask John a question,
Yeah.
it seems like, and we were hearing great things about this and how these things are being applied to our children. Is there opportunity for us to invite more teachers next year? What do we need to do? And we'd love to get your recommendation, what you need from us to make that happen.
Absolutely. One, let me just start off by saying I think it's great that any public university would, because what I want to make sure it's clear to everyone, they actually reduce the course load level of the professors so they can do this for public school teachers. And so one, I think that's just remarkable. In terms of your question, we invited everybody last year to apply. We're going to send that out again as soon as we receive information in the fall, probably later in the fall. And again, invite anyone to apply for the program. And it's what we did do this year, coming out of last spring, is we added a local stipend and to kind of incentivize sort of the participation. And so I hope teachers will keep in mind there's a stipend involved as well. And Yale provides a small stipend as well. And so, and Ms. Tom, did you want to add to that? You just got to come up to the mic so the camera can hear you.
Yes, I do want to add. So this is early in the works, but we're thinking of having another school district, and the reason why is because so far it's still too little amount of teachers to qualify us to have a local initiative. So if you can see if there's a local school that's meets the requirements that under Title I schools, and you can persuade superintendents to be like, hey, this is an awesome PD for your teachers, like to have them come on board, and that would be awesome.
Sure. I'll keep looking as well. Certainly. And thank you, Berkeley Unified, for being here in the house tonight.
All right. Any other? If not, we'll move on to the item 5.2. It is an information item, and Dr. Rubio, can you elaborate on that?
Yes, the Silicon Valley Mathematics Initiative, SVMI, is an organization that's been around for a while, and there's some great history again in Emeryville with our teachers over the years, attending summer trainings, our teachers doing assessments with the students, problem-based assessments, open-ended assessments. And so this is something that Emory's been doing for a while. I had the pleasure of knowing SVMI when I was in Santa Cruz before I came, and I was excited to hear that Emory Unified was already involved with them. So we had some teachers go through SVMI in their training this summer, and I think they're going to come up, and if they would come up now and share with the board what the summer training was like with the Silicon Valley Mathematics Initiative, we'd appreciate it.
As you can tell, I really love PDs. Okay, so I was like, oh, okay, it's another PD. I hope I'm getting something out of it. And oh my goodness, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I would love being a mathematician. I collaborated with other teachers, and my brain tingled because it hurt a little bit thinking, like, it was great. And what I learned from that was one, collaboration, and two, experiencing math. And then really understanding Common Core's math practices. And then with that, so after learning about the math practices, I realized that to truly teach and experience math, the students really need to interact with math. And it's not me telling them, okay, do this, do this, do this. So this is what I learned from SVMI, and this is a tool bag that my students each have. And inside is a food tray, but it's not for food. It's their personal workspace. And inside, these are all the manipulatives that they can choose and make sense for themselves. So I'll give them a mini lesson. There's a question posed. Then they go and get their tools and pick the tools that make sense to them. And you're wondering, what am I doing? I'm walking around making sure that I'm guiding them through questions, asking, why do you think that can you explain to me some more? So that they're practicing their math talk and their academic vocabulary. So that's what I got of. And also, I just want to say one more thing that'll lead to our number talk is that Emeryville is famous at SBMI. And the reason why is because there are these 4 or 5 problems of the month / number talk videos that our very own teachers, Miss Miles, Mr. Rogers, did, and then they still use those in the training. So that's a little update, and here's Shane.
It was great to go to a training. It was early August, so it was hard to get the teacher brain going, but I was grateful because I got the teacher brain going right at the beginning of the month and wasn't like cranking myself into the school year because it's very hard to make that transition from summer to school. And everything I learned there was immediately applicable in the classroom, and that was a huge value. We spent 5 days there, all day long, working with other teachers. They separated us into grade level, and the experience I had was that the person who worked with us gave me a lot of tools to take to the classroom immediately, and I knew those tools were grounded in research and practice, and that was a big deal. So I just want to invite you to join us in a number talk, which is a fundamental practice in the SVMI curriculum. So I'm going to ask you to do a little mental math. It'll just take a couple of minutes. I'm going to ask you to share your thinking with me. So I would like you to interact and solve the problem, what is 85 plus 52? And you have 10 seconds. We all must be quiet while we think and solve in our minds 85 plus 52. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to ask if you'll volunteer to share how you came up with the answer. And you're not to use pen and paper, you're to do mental math. And I'm just going to give you 10 seconds instead of the 30 I give my students.
You're saying 85 plus 32?
Go ahead.
What was it, 85 plus 32?
85 plus 52.
Oh, 52?
Trying to make it
Okay.
level for
Yeah.
you guys, but also
Can we take a brief recess?
No. Just wanted to hear the question right.
So it's been 10 seconds. Anyone want to share how they solved that?
I imagine the numbers floating in front of me, and so that I could sort of see them and add them together and determine if I was carrying anything or anything.
Did you carry?
Yes.
So tell me what you did.
Oh, well, I don't know if I carried, but I added the 5 and the 2, and I added the 8 and the 5. So not really, yeah.
So 5 and 2, and you added the 8 and 5 together.
13.
Right? Anyone have a different way that they solved the problem?
Yes, I did. I am all about approximations, meaning as long as I'm, close by and within range, that works. Mm-hmm. So I added the 8 plus the 5 first. So I got that 13, right? Yeah, the 8 plus the right, and then I added the other 2. Right.
Anyone use tens or round and then deconstruct or? Oh, Mr.
Yeah, I did 85 plus 15 first.
85 plus 15.
Gives my even number of 100.
Okay. So yeah, you decided 500 first, and then.
It's a nice friendly number.
Sorry, it's hard to figure out who needs to see this. Which word is first? And then you.
And then I have the remaining of it, which is 37.
And then you added 37 to 100.
Yes.
So on the third day of school, I had my third graders solve 52 plus 8.
So
Oh, go back to my other. Let me get next one. Sure. Hold it so I could see it. So I had them solve 52 plus 8, and it was just immediately
Actually, put it on the
really.
screen. Just tagged up on the
There?
screen.
Oh, because of the video. I didn't think of the video. So I had them solve 52 plus 8, and one of the benefits of a number talk is that you created an opportunity to have a low floor and high ceiling. So it's accessible to kids on a lot of levels so that you can summon interaction and solutions from all levels of students. And of course, that wasn't going to happen the first day of school, but it started to happen a little bit in the third day of school. So you'll notice that one student used his fingers, and then another student went ahead and did 52 plus 8. Actually, Jennifer did something complicated that I can't explain on the spot. And
You might have to take that mic off if you don't mind, because
oh, sure,
the camera
that's what I
won't
can
pick
do.
you up.
Thank you.
Sure.
I need tech guidance right now.
It should be a pool. There you go.
And you'll notice that Justice likes to just show me he can make 60 in a lot of different ways because he just knows it's 60. So he's just likes to tell me all the different ways to make 60 instead of explaining that he just did it in his head. He didn't have to think, there wasn't a solution. And this student did kind of the same thing. But it's just exciting down here too when we did 7 plus 5. One student did 7 minus 2 and then went to 5. Like the students are starting to apply algebraic thinking by doing these number talks. They're showing multiple ways to solve things. And they're also noticing that one equation equals another. So we're just making those connections that there are many ways to solve problems and that we can honor those different ways instead of saying there's one right way. And a fundamental norm of SVMI is that mistakes are very valuable. So we start to show that through the number talks by representing all answers on the poster and not leaving anything out. So thank you for your time, and it was just a wonderful PD.
No.
So thank you.
Thank you for that
Thank you.
entertainment bit. What grade is that, by the way? that you're-
This is third grade.
Third grade?
Yeah.
Great, great.
So thank you for interacting.
Yes, thank you. Okay. And that was an information item, and we'll move on to the next item, and that is the start of school year update. Exciting times. Anyway, this says here it's an action item, but it's more information, isn't it?
You know, I'm sorry, it is an information item.
Okay.
So we have our school principals here tonight, Samantha Carter for the elementary, Eddie Scruggs-Smith for the middle, and Jessica Good for the high school, who will be presenting some information regarding the opening of schools, and I'm not sure if they have drawn straws yet or not, but we'll see.
Okay, hi, I am Samantha Carter, the elementary school principal. Before I start talking a ton, I want to do a couple things. I want to say thank you to the superintendent for having this crazy idea to have 2 principals. I want to say thank you to the board for going along with his crazy idea. And I want to say thank you to the teachers that are still here at 7 o'clock at night that are continuing to do nothing but say beautiful things about us and this school. And I think it just goes to show the dedication of everyone at this site and in this room. So I'm Samantha Carter, and I'm very appreciative.
Good evening. I'm Eddie Scruggs-Smith. I support the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students in the building. I echo what Sam is saying. Thank you so much for this great opportunity. And this isn't work that we're doing in a silo by ourselves. We have a phenomenal staff that's supporting and working with us, because a great start wouldn't be possible without all the many hands that are lifting it up. So thank you.
I am Jessica Good, high school principal, and I would like to echo the same sentiments with the addition of it has been such an incredible and amazing experience working with our 2 new principals. Both Ms. Carter and Ms. Scruggs-Smith have been outstanding teammates. They have been absolutely amazing. I hear great things about them from students, from parents, from teachers. It has made it onto the high school side how amazing our 2 new principals are. So I too would like to thank all of you. I would like to thank my staff, of course, but also the staff of Annie Yates that has done an amazing job and has just shown such incredible resilience and commitment and open-heartedness and the willingness to really embrace moving forward. I appreciate it as a member of the community here at Emeryville. I appreciate it because, you know, your kids become my kids, And I appreciate it because we have such amazing people that we get to work with and see every day. So thank you guys very much.
Hi, my name is Corinne Yeager, and I am the Instructional Technology TSA, and I will also echo everything. I have had the pleasure of working with all three of these wonderful women and have felt so supported by both them and our wonderful staff at the K-8, as well as getting to know the new members of the high school team, which I did not work with last year.
So I will do a brief overview, and then if you have questions, I will be happy to answer those. So genuinely, I really have had nothing but a very positive experience. And I think that's just because everyone has been very open to what this year could look like. So as we have been implementing new things, whether that be a new website that Corinne has helped us launch, whether that be the Facebook page and me taking pictures of them doing things across the campus or in their classrooms, everyone really is just so open. We have already had one coffee with the principals. We had about a dozen parents, and they, again, just echo the same sentiments that you have heard. The questions that they had, we were really honest with them around all the things that we are doing to address those things. We have done things so far like put together school-wide rules that are K-8. So we have the 3 Bs, be safe, be respectful, be responsible, and they really are guiding all of the things that we're doing so far, whether that be assemblies that are now separate, TK through 5, and then assemblies that are 6 through 8. Those assemblies are only occurring once a month, and we're doing things in interim instead of having these lengthier assemblies that I heard very clearly from our staff that they wanted to see modified. We have done things like instead having our posters everywhere that are reminding the students what the expectations are everywhere, and we're doing various things to just echo that at all times. So I think the school culture is one that is happy, one that is consistent. I think our kids are being told very clearly what is okay behavior, what is acceptable, and where it is acceptable, which again I think is huge because we are all on the same page. We are all creating a learning environment that is safe and consistent and clear. And I think that's the only way that we can actually address any of the other items, such as learning or curriculum, is that we actually have a space to do that. So I think what we have been doing so far is communicating with parents, being very visible. We are out there every single day before and after school. Ms. Scruggs-Smith is out on the field with her middle schoolers. We really are just trying to be present. We're trying to listen to our staff and our parents and our teachers and the kids and just create a place where everyone wants to be.
I really can't add outside of the fact that I have a phenomenal partner. She actually told a lot of my piece as well, and that's because we really collaborate and work a lot, and we work together as think partners to talk and process what's great for the staff. If there is something that's coming up, how do we communicate that? Is it times when we need to communicate as a team, or is it times that it's separate depending on what the topic or the issue is? What I can add, along with what Sam has been saying, is being very present on the 3rd floor. And every day I'm in the classrooms, checking in with Mr. Rowe and all my other teammates, all my other colleagues that are on that floor, and being able to look at this point, it's only been 4 weeks, but with the middle school team, how many standardized practices they've already put in place because of meetings and conversations that we've had formally and informally with them meeting with one another. So you can go into any classroom and hear one mic, and the kids all know whatever classroom they travel to, they need to listen up. It's something important that's about to be said. But various practices where they're working collaboratively as a team, and also looking at times when, because of the prep schedule, and again, thanks to my other phenomenal colleague, Jessica putting the schedule together for us, and then us being able to come in with that and filling in what did that look like with shared time for the teachers to work together. Also, with, of course, the few behavioral issues that have come up so far, as Sam already stated, talking about those 3 Bs and making that everything that we discuss and everything that our environment is about, asking them first, what are the 3 Bs, so that we know that conversation is getting across and everybody, all the family members in Annie Yates are using that same verbiage, so that the child can self-identify which B they broke and what would have been a better choice, allowing them to do that self-correction as we're trying to redirect the behavior. And in a situation, if it's more egregious, I've already met with middle school students to do conflict mediations. And again, having them talk through what's the issue, which is what is leading to why there's more time on task, there's more instruction that's happening in the classrooms, and that the students are buying into these agreements. We also, at the very beginning, noticed from our welcome that we did on a Saturday, our orientation, it's been the same verbiage that we're saying over and over again, so that we get everyone in the community to be a part of what the behavioral expectation is, and asking parents to even use it with their kids at home. That saying, you know, which B did you break? Because we message to the parents, you're their first teacher. And what we're doing right now is adding on to the foundation that you laid. And the 3 Bs are a significant part of that. Outside of that, it's just, as Sam already said, us being very present. We're stopped by parents, we're being asked questions, and making that time to listen and hear what they're saying. And a lot of it is, last year, I've had people say, last year you didn't, and I stood there and just took it as, okay. I wasn't here last year, but I don't say that. I just listen and say, okay, well, what do you need? Because that's what it comes down to. They need to be heard, and then we do what we can to support them so that we can have them on board and we can move together as a unit, as a family.
So for the high school, we have obviously a few things going on. We did have a smooth opening. Student schedules were completed. We did do our best to try to get any adjustments done within that first week of school. Obviously, there's always some tweaking that has to take place after that, but we're pretty much settled where we're going to be. When we began, I'd have to give Gao and Adam and the other gentlemen a shout out. Our facility looked absolutely amazing. The floors were gleaming. The classrooms were outstanding. It was a wonderful way to welcome students and teachers back. Our facilities gentlemen who are here on site every day from literally dawn to dusk, because it seems like I see them when I get here, and they're here after I'm leaving. Phenomenal job. Currently, we are at 182 students with 2 more expected to enroll this week, which is really good. That's a bigger set of kids than last year. Our Courageous Conversation training that people talked about was really well received at the high school. And I would also like to give a shout out to Board Member Cruz, who made time to come and be present with us and to do work around equity that is so needed. Your presence there did not go unnoticed. It was quite powerful for me and for my staff, so thank you. One of the things that we've started at the high school is one-on-one and group check-ins. We started the one-on-one and group check-ins for students because last year we did 2 things. One, teachers had class meetings, and I actually had grade level meetings with my students, and we were investigating how we needed to improve our school culture. What came forward was the thing that needed the most attention was teacher-student relationships, in order also to model what a positive student-student relationship looked like. The students were connecting those 2 things. So they asked us for one-on-one check-ins, they asked for group check-ins, and they also asked for advisory, which has been an ongoing conversation with my staff since last year. We've started the one-on-one and group check-ins. We did a debrief of that today at our collaboration meeting, and the general consensus is that it has really improved our school culture. Our students seem to be happier and feel more cared for, which was part of our purpose, that we really wanted to do those check-ins to help build community and build relationship. We already talked about kind of us working together. Right now, we're trying to build a math vertical articulation between the secondary, so that's middle through high school. I'm really looking forward to that. We had our Williams visit this week. We had our facilities inspection on Monday. We had our the materials inspection on Tuesday. Both were awesome. We have our we have our WASC that's upcoming. It'll be on November 13th through 15th. So my staff has been working tirelessly to compile the WASC report. If you guys are familiar with WASC, it's about a 100-page report that we have to create. It involves all of our stakeholders, both classified, certificated, parents, students, in different ways. So our report is due on October 1st. We're on track to start that. We've created a SSE outreach committee, so we can have an SSE that's actually representative of our student population. Right now, it's not. So we have to do some more work to make sure that the people who are working on behalf of our kids actually look like our kids. And by far most importantly, we have two brand new little Spartans that have joined our team. Mr. Bartholomew, our curriculum support teacher, welcomed a son, Miles Bartholomew, and Tom Salvatore, our music teacher, welcomed a son, Theodore Luis Salvatore. So we would like to welcome our little Spartans to the world. Thank you.
All right.
I wanted to do one more thing. I feel like there's no way that I can talk about the beginning of the school year without me addressing my second grade friends. So I walked into the school year with everyone sharing with me how my second grade, my incoming second graders were in regards to behavior. So I feel like if I'm going to talk about the beginning of school year and school culture, I just also have to address how second grade is going so far. So I want to just address what I am currently doing since the beginning of school year. So with my second grade friends, we have done a couple things. One, I have already met with the teachers. So we have 3 second grade teachers. I have had individual conferences with the 3 second grade teachers and specifically asked them the second week of school, what do you need? How is this going, and what supports do you specifically need to be successful? Let's talk about between now and November, what do you think you need? And then in November, then we can reassess and we can go from there. So one of the teachers was very clear that she needed additional support in regards to an actual body in her class. Now, all 3 teachers have someone, whether that be one of our instructional aides or someone that supports us during recess that is also hired by the rec. Every single one of those teachers has someone for a minimum of an hour during the day. They start at 9 o'clock, so they have someone for a minimum of an hour. Then that individual takes a break, and then they support us during recess. Our recesses, I think, are running much more smoothly, specifically during that first and second grade recess, because we have additional support out there as well, and then also in the cafeteria. I have 5 adults in this cafeteria that are not district staff because I changed where our students are playing during recess time. So last year, my students had access to a large portion of the campus, and I felt like in regards to safety and accountability that we needed to minimize where they are at. So during lunch recess, we are using this area outside of the Wahala, which makes it very easy to bring them into the cafeteria. So that's another adjustment, is that I have really maximized the adults that are with our students during that downtime, recess, and lunch. In the classroom, the one teacher that had stated that she needed more support in regards to an actual person in her class, we have made that work. So she has one person in her class from 8:30 to 10:30, and then that person comes and supports the cafeteria, and then her students have lunch, etc. And then she has another person that comes in 12 to 3. So she was the only one that stated she needed additional support, and I have made that work. So that is starting this week. Does she have 5 hours of support? I came in with, already making some close friends with some of those second grade boys. I have called all of their parents already. We have already had conferences, and I have framed it that I only want what's best for those boys. And I just need this year to be successful, and I need to be very clear about communication and consequences, and it's not to punish, but it's to make sure that we are actually supporting those boys to learn and be successful here. So I feel like through communication with the parents and with the teachers, I really am trying to support that second grade team and those students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. So I'm going to talk, I'm going to start a little bit about communication and increasing communication. And one of the ways that I have worked with, sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time. Sam, can you talk while I try to pull this up?
Okay, so one of the questions we were asked was communication. So we have tried to really maximize communication in various ways. So we have done simple things like there are actually blackboards as you enter Anna Yates. Use those. So if you see me on a morning, I probably look like Cookie Monster or like Rainbow Hands, but I have heard from staff, I have heard from parents that they are actually looking at at those blackboards. So I have put various things on there, whether that be we're not having school or that there are tickets for the Cals game. We are also doing just standard paper messages. We are also doing constant contact, which is the email. We are also doing this new robocall system. You're not going to hear our lovely voices, but it doesn't sound crazy when it calls you. And then we are also doing things like, again, with Corinne's support, we have a website. And so with the website, we really are trying to add all that information that we are hearing from feedback, like what are the protocols for drop-off, pickup, what do parents do, where do they go? We have instituted a new tardy policy to address our attendance. And so all of those things are just very clear and accessible on our website. Also, on our website, it has the hyperlinks to our social media pages. So this is another way that we are communicating with our parents. So on our Facebook page, and shout out to everyone that is liking our page and going and visit. I know who you are. I check it out. I'm so excited when I see people go to the page. It's a little silly, but it really makes me happy. Why? Because they're seeing our awesome babies, and these children are really beautiful. So I am putting things like, if you didn't see my chalk art, and we all happen to be Cal alum, so I'm really, go Bears. Yeah, go Bears. Right, so if you didn't see it when you walked in, it's now on Facebook. If you didn't see it, it's now on Instagram. And again, I also know, and this is why she's so happy, is because we put student work up here. I know people do not want to actually read my post, no school. They want to see the baby's work. They want to see that Mr. Waugh sent this to us of one of her former students and now his. This is what parents want to see. Are you able to go to the Boomerang? Student of the week. Do you see those babies in Boomerang form? That's what people want to see. Right? That's our first week of Student of the Week. And so this is what I'm really trying to do. I send Corinne text messages on a Friday night. Corinne, how do I get this on here? And she's trying to have a life at an Oakland A's game, but she walks me through it. And then throughout the weekend, I'm just looking at like everyone that like checked it and has liked it. And so I know you can't see this on potentially your end, but that got 86 views. It reached over 200 people. People are looking at this, whether they're liking it or not. Our membership is growing by the day. So we are really trying to look at fun and family-friendly ways to communicate with our parents.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about all the planning that Will, Alex, and I have done to get our one-to-one devices out and into classrooms. And I want to really start and say that even though they're not here, I could not have done any of this without both of their help. They have been instrumental in helping me get to know the high school, and also helping me to be a think partner, just like Eddie and Sam said. So I want to talk about, we started today actually. We had deployment visits at the high school, and they have received 3 of their carts. There are more coming, but they have gotten started with those. And Alex told me this afternoon when he dropped one off, Mr. Perez did a little dance when he dropped it off, so he was very excited. But we are starting our deployment visits at the K-8 next week. We are doing it week by week, floor by floor. So we have the second floor is next week, and then the third floor, and then the first floor with the iPads the first week of October. And in those deployment visits, we will be going through and making sure that students can get in, and teachers can get in and on with their new Google accounts, as well as the Microsoft accounts for the Lenovo devices. The other piece we'll be doing is at the very start of school, when we were going around and doing inventory of wires and cables and everything in between. We handed out acceptable use agreements, which were created by the technology team last year of students and staff. And it was a document that is basically a guideline of procedures and how to handle devices. And we're asking students and parents to sign those at the K-8. And I just met with Miss Good, and her English teachers are going to distribute those next week to the high school students and have them sign it. So there's an accountability piece as far as how to handle the devices. The other piece, sorry. We have tried to come up with really strong and steadfast systems to make sure that these devices are accounted for and are secure and are safe and all of those good things. So we have numbered the devices themselves, 1 through 30. We have also asset tagged every single one with a barcode at the bottom that has been logged into a software system by Alex and Will. So they have the asset tag number as well as the serial number. And then we are also making sure that the way that students are using the devices is a way that is in accordance with that. So we are having the number of device, so if it's computer number 2, it will go in slot number 2, and it will be used by student number 2. So that looks a little different at the different levels, but for K-8 or for K-5, they will have their roster that they see all day of students numbered from 1 to 30. At the middle school, they move in a cohort, so middle school student will use computer number 2 in English and math and history and in science. At the high school, the teachers already have some form of numbering their students, so they're going to continue that and make sure that they hold their classes accountable for numbering as they move throughout, because they don't move in cohorts. I've also been working with staff at both sites to tailor professional development around instructional technology and implementing it. I, at the high school, met with Miss Good and also her technology leader teachers to talk about, they voted as a school to spend the 4th Wednesday of every month focused on technology integration. So I'm trying to help support them however they can and however I can. And one of the big pushes that they are really advocating for is getting up and running with Google, in particular Google Classroom. There is a strong need for that to fill what Power School used to do. So they are going to get up and running with that. For the K-8, I have surveyed staff and really taken their voices into consideration of how they would like to spend that technology time. They have come up with the 2 highest priority items that I shared the results today at our staff meeting were backwards planning time with their grade level teams, as well as district technology programs, such as like Reach for Reading. And then the third one, highest need, 3rd and 4th, was really setting up a digital citizenship in the classrooms. So we are working on all of those to get going for our Wednesday meeting PDs. I think that's all I have. Cool.
public comment regarding this presentation? With none, let's go to clarifying questions or questions for the guest or speakers.
I wanted to say that we appreciate your work, and it's great. It's always great to hear people say good things about leadership in the school. So definitely just wanted to echo that back to you. I have a quick question. The one that I like to ask the most. That's what can the board do for you? How can we help?
I think I would echo what one of my colleagues, Mr. Rowe, already said. Come and see us. Come and walk through. Let the students see you present. And then at times when you're available, even join us for a staff meeting to check in and hear in real time what's happening and different supports and things that we may need that are coming up. But the most important thing right now, come and see the students that we're serving and come and see the great things that are happening in the classrooms.
To add, today I spoke with my staff about having a family night, bringing back family nights, and everyone is really excited to do a minimum of 2 of those, one an art night and the other one a movie night. So my other, just kind of ask and pitch is I would love to see your faces at movie night, right? Like bring out your lawn chairs, come eat some ice cream with us, watch the movie that I haven't picked out yet, but that will be in October, the first week of October, and I would love to see all of you there. And then also back to school night is next Wednesday. So again, you are also welcome to join all of us to really address the fact that many of our families have children across this campus. K through 12, we are having back to school night on the same night so that parents can really, again, actually show up to back to school night and it's accessible. So we would love to see you there as well.
Can I ask, when you have these events, are they posted on the Facebook page or on the website, the dates and the staff meetings and things like that?
Correct. So there's a couple of things. So one, I have been trying to, every time that there is an event, that I'm putting it on the Facebook page. It is also on the website. Corinne and us as a team and our office staff, we worked really hard this year to actually have a calendar before school started with events on the calendar. And so all of those things are also available on the website. And there's a Google Calendar, one for teachers that has the things that relate to us, and then one for parents. So all of those things are also on the calendar.
Great, thank you.
And I just wanted to say one quick thing. I noticed all the great work that you did at the entrance of the elementary and middle school. And I actually took a picture of the calendar that you have there. It shows the dates. It has like the cowboy theme around it. I thought it was great. Awesome. I appreciate that. That's exactly what we're looking for. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Could be.
One last ask. Well, I do want to recognize our superintendent. My students had requested that he come and he see us and he visit us more often. And he did come and visit us and spend some time with me going through classrooms. And I would like to invite the rest of you to do the same. Again, come see us, come sit down with us, come work with us. You're welcome to come to our staff collaboration. On September 25th, we're having a PD day at the high school. It's going to be all WASC all day. You are more than welcome to come and work with us as we're putting our report together. So again, thank you, Dr. Rubio, for coming. And to the rest of you, you're always, always welcome on site. We would love to see you.
So where would the event that you're talking about, where would that be posted? It wouldn't be on the NE8 site. Would it be on the district website?
Ours isn't up yet.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a work in progress.
Okay.
So it'll be there, but just know we come and we work usually in Ms. DeKoven's room, D203 on the second floor. That's where we have our staff collaboration meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question for you, Ms. Good. When did you say that you're going to have coffee with the principals?
Oh, okay. So the AY already had theirs.
Mm-hmm.
I am having, honestly, my counselor is setting it up and he's assigning me a date. Right. And and he hasn't sent it to me yet. But I know that I have already said that I'm going to do it. And we're also doing well, hey, it is what it is. And then we're also doing a coffee clash with the SSC outreach. My next SSC outreach meeting is tomorrow night. And so we'll set a date for the coffee clash in which I'll stand out in front of the school with danishes and coffee with our SSC outreach members so we can try to entice more parents to come to SSC. So that will probably be the fourth week of September since we're having our back to school night next Wednesday.
And feel free, if you don't mind, to pass it on to Lisa, and she'll pass it on to the board.
I will do that as soon as I receive my assignment.
Thank you.
And thank you for kicking off the years in great expectations. So I can't appreciate it more than that. So thank you very much.
So, Ms. Carter, you said that there was instructions about dropping off and pickup on the website, and I was wondering if you'd had a chance to observe. I know that one of the administrators used to be outside to make sure the kids got in. I don't know if you guys have seen any challenges there or have observed it or have any plans for improvement.
Like, in regards to the system of drop-off and pickup, or in regards to what specifically?
When parents drop their children off on that road, I know that some parents got some tickets on the first day of school, and on both sides, I know the parents were confused about what they were supposed to do, and I also know that there used to be a human body there helping to usher the kids in.
Yeah. So I am that human body. I am also accompanied by at least one teacher in the morning. So in the morning, I created the schedule to have 10 adults out in the morning. So we are dispersed across the campus, whether that be in the cafeteria, in the Swahalo playground, the playground that is near the entrance, out on the field. Mr. Rowe is normally out on that field with Ms. Greg Smith. And then I am out in the front. So it is myself and then a rotation of teachers that are out in the front every single morning. Truthfully, people have been very lovely. I do have Mr. T, who is a great support. I have put him on the high school side to address some of the concerns of our parents, either one, parking in the teacher parking, or two, going through the high school entrance. And again, for me, it's all about safety. So he is assisting on that side. Yes, do I have to do some reminding in regards to, like, use the crosswalk, right? Do I have to do some remindings about, not leaving their cars, et cetera? But genuinely, I speak to people once, and they really have been really open and receptive. And yes, do I have to remind some people, but that just is the nature of a school, specifically at the beginning of the school year. And so that is the morning. Now, in the afternoon at dismissal, again, I have been praising the teachers. There should be 3 of us out in front. So again, just in that line, getting kids to cars safely, making sure that they're using the crosswalk, et cetera. And then Ms. Greg Smith is assisting with the middle school teachers to really make sure that the kids are getting off campus and getting off safely. So she's going across the campus and getting them to the after-school program. So I have Mr. T, myself, and then at least one teacher assigned. Now, my teachers have been awesome, and they have been showing up when they don't have to. I have teachers that are just staked out there with their classrooms, which has been very helpful. So yes, is it a perfect system? No, because that's not a perfect street, right? And are we gonna have to continue to just think about how we can make that better? And that definitely got brought up at the coffee with the principals. But the one thing that Ms. Greg Smith and I said was that for right now, are we going to lie to people and say that this is perfect? No. But what we can do is we can all be on the same page to address what we have, right? And if we're all on the same page, then we're going to make the best out of this situation. And then we can continue to brainstorm, how do we improve upon the system? And the parents were like, yep, we got it. And Ms. Greg Smith did a great job about reminding the parents, we are 2, they are hundreds, right? So if they continue to pass the word around, like, we've all got to be on the same page. We've all got to keep it moving, right? If we don't want that ticket, if we want to be on time, because we really are enforcing that tardy policy, then here's what we have to do, and we all have to do it together. So
Have the police continued to be present during mornings? Are they parked around the school at that time?
So I am on 47th. Have I seen them after the first week of school? No, I have not.
Okay.
But the first week of school, they were out there for the first 3 days. There were several police officers out there, but since then, have there? No.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Scruggs-Smith, did you want to add anything else?
No, I have a phenomenal partner. That's all I can add. She basically echoed everything that we are out there, we're present, we're covering every single area. Every morning there are parents either talking to us if there's a concern, we're addressing it, but we're in all those spaces, middle school and the elementary school staff, we're all out there. And at the end of the day, it's about, again, on our side for the middle school, making sure that those babies are leaving and they're going where they need to go. Be it that it is to the after-school program, or that they're getting home. And if there are still students present, we're taking them inside and we're calling parents to find out what's going on. And I think one of the things that has been great on the side of the city is that we partnered and talked to them in the beginning about, here's the time we're exiting, where are you guys going to be, so that you can capture these students outside. The piece that I see that is coming up, students that are still lingering around the school, the struggles, I guess, at this point, and again, Sam and I still learning about our Emeryville family. How do we get those parents to sign their students up if they can't pick them up till 5? Because there are times when I'm here, or Sam is here, or even Ms. Jessica is here, and we're still trying to get parents and get them in there because we don't want to leave them, but at the same time, we have to let parents know that this is a safety issue. I've had to do several of those calls the last 4 weeks that we've been in school to really drive home. There isn't a person present to watch their child. So if there's a way, if I could, I guess, put this in a form of an ask, how do we support those parents who may not be able to pay for the after-school program? I understand it's a sliding scale, but how do we provide that resource so that those babies aren't sitting out there unattended, especially after our time? Sometimes we work late, sometimes we don't. So we can't capture everything that's going on, and that they're in a safe space until that parent can get to them. So that would be an ask on how we could get support for those families.
Thank you. I also had a question for Ms. Good.
Yes, ma'am.
I talked with some parents, and they said that they had possibly run the idea of a high school PTO with you, a parent-teacher organization for the high school.
Yeah, I'm familiar with PTO. I'm just wondering who talked to you because they didn't talk to me.
I was just talking to parents outside the school on the high school side, and they were very interested in a PTO, and they thought that perhaps you could be a good advocate.
Yeah,
maybe,
no, absolutely.
Maybe they didn't talk to you, but they were very fond of you, and they thought that maybe you could help.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. Okay, so yes, we've been actually trying to build, well, on our side we call it boosters. So we've been trying to build our boosters for the last couple of years, and we do have some parents that are parents of seniors this year, and one had a graduate and has a graduate 2017, and then a freshman incoming this year. And they had said that they do really want to support particularly senior activities, but they also want to really support our boosters. So, excuse me. Yeah, so we're absolutely open to the idea. Last year, we spent a lot of time asking, for parents at our monthly parent meetings, at back to school night, at open house, coming and, being a part of it. So hopefully, now that we have some people who are energized, we have a small core group of parents. And when I first got here in April of 2016, there were no parents on campus ever. Last year, when we moved to the new facility, we have a core group of about 4 parents who are on campus constantly. So what we're hoping is that now we can go to maybe 10 parents that are on campus constantly, that are running our booster clubs, that are volunteering, that we already have some that are volunteering to coach our sports, that are doing our after school, well, not after school program, but our study hall program, all of that. So yeah, we're absolutely open to that. And if anybody ever tells you they're interested in being a member of PTO, being a booster, volunteering in the classroom, being a safety person on campus, any of that, please have them come and speak to me immediately. I'll put them in contact with our booster president, and we'll find a space for them to lend their talents, regardless of what it may be.
I actually did talk to quite a few parents, half a dozen parents that were very interested in volunteering, but felt that there wasn't an organization. They weren't sure how to do it. And it wasn't necessarily a PTO thing, because the PTO wasn't necessarily involved in volunteering for that type of thing.
Yeah, we haven't had a PTO on campus. So again, please, if they come and tell me, because I'm really excited to hear this, because it hasn't been something that's come to me directly. So if they talk to you and they tell you that, just tell them to come see Miss Good. You can give them my cell phone number, 510-255-9494. They can call me anytime. They can email me. They can text me. The girls know that you can call me anytime. It's fine. Is because we're very, very interested in growing and expanding. And they can come, they can be a member of SSE. They encourage them to come to our parent meetings. It's generally the third Thursday of the month. We're always open to having more parents involved in governance and in fundraising and all of those things.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
If I may just add, I'm a big believer that the climate of any organization in school is really not just set by the principal, but it's also made up of all of the staff and the employees. And the community is really turning a corner, and I'm proud, again, to be a part of it, because all of you are working together, holding each other up. This is the first time I can recall that I can either walk through the high school and the middle school, yes, we have a middle school, and an elementary school, right? And it is orderly, it is calm, and kids are learning. So I'm proud of the corner that the entire community is turning, because sometimes people get uncomfortable when I say it, but the behaviors that we hear about sometimes, or people like to talk about, the behavior of the students is directly affected by the quality of the teaching staff. And we all know that as educators, and so you can really see that the climate is really changing. So I'm proud of the work the teachers, the staff, and the administrators are doing, and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to get started on item 5.4, which is 2016-2017's test scores. And mind you, just first,
Yes,
right?
Dr. Kell, our Director of Instruction, is here with us tonight to present some preliminary information regarding test scores.
Good evening, everybody. So I'm gonna look from here. So these are preliminary test scores. You know what? They're not projected right. It's supposed to look like this. Oh. But I gave her a different one. Lisa, do you have the?
Jump drive, do you have the jump
Because
drive?
it cut off on PDF. Do you have the little stitch? Yes, I know you have copies, but but I want to, yeah. Sorry about that, it'll take 2 minutes, because this is not very clear. Go in here, in here. Okay. So what you see here is the preliminary data. Oh, I'm sorry. So this is the preliminary data from the spring of this year. And as you can see, these are mixed results. To just explain what you're looking at. So you can see the data displayed for 15-16 and 16-17. And then the change at every level of performance, not exceeded, nearly exceeded, met the standard, or exceeded the standard. And then you also can see the growth, and the last column actually addresses the what kinds of patterns do we see with regards to closing the achievement gap, which, as we know, is an issue across the nation, and our district is no different, unfortunately. So achievement gap between Asian and white students and students of color. So in red, you see the negative changes. In green, you see positive changes. Negative numbers do not necessarily indicate bad things. For instance, if the amount of students who didn't meet the standard became smaller, then you will have a negative number there. So that's a good thing. So with regards to gap change, achievement gap change, if you will look, let me move this a little bit. Oopsie, the other way around. I'm used to using, I use mouse usually, so I'm sorry. Okay. And I can make it a little bit smaller here too, so that it all fits. Okay. So our African American students closed the gap a little bit. Our highest performing group is the Asian students, right? And so when we're looking at the gap change, we're comparing a group to its opposite. So Black and African American students are compared to the highest performing group, which is Asian students in our case. And they closed the gap by 8%. Then Asian, you can see 0 because they are not compared to anybody. They're the highest performing group. Then our Latino students also reduced gap a little bit, again comparing to Asian students by 6%. Our white students closed gap by 17%. And then when you look at our English learners, EL, we are comparing them to general population. They also closed the gap a little bit by 3%. And then our students with disabilities also closed the gap by 3%. But our economically disadvantaged students actually increased the gap by 1%. So we have a lot of work to do, no question about it. And that's just in English language arts, and then you can see the results in mathematics. What I would like to share also is what we're planning to do about it. So, let me see. Okay. So what is our strategy? Well, first and foremost, we have new site leadership. We heard a lot of positive things. I'm very, very hopeful. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, yes. If you don't have the basic needs met, then you cannot do important things that follow. If you don't have good climate, and when adults do not feel positive, children suffer usually. And so now that we have new leadership and we have this positive climate, I hope that we are going to ride this momentum and really make huge progress in achievement. So we are improving organizational climate, it's very evident. We also are implementing small school model, right? So we now have middle school and elementary school, and research shows that it's a really positive change, because now we can focus more intensely on groups of students. And they have different needs sometimes, because it's developmentally different age. We also are planning to begin the work of intervention much earlier this year. Last year I was new. We started tutoring in middle school at NIH only in February. We will start in October, if not earlier. We already started recruiting teachers. We are also talking about horizontal and vertical collaboration, increasing that. Ms. Good mentioned the math committee. So last year, first time we had district-wide science committee. We are continuing this work, and I'm very excited to say that, because the majority of our science teachers from both middle school and high school signed up for a year-long training at Alameda County Office of Education to work on implementing next generation science standards. And they are contributing their time after school for the whole year, which is very impressive. We're also starting middle school / high school mathematics committee. And for those of you who may not remember, last year when we started the district-wide science committee, high school teacher was volunteering on his prep time and teaching sometimes middle school science. So collaboration was increasing, and I hope that that's a really positive advancement that will continue. We also will change collaboration in grade levels. We are working with Mills College now and changing their approach to how they work with us. They will be much more involved with group collaboration, grade level collaboration. Okay, and okay. So another very important thing that we're trying to accomplish this year is to develop coherence among all our initiatives. It has to be all connected. So I mentioned Mill Scholars will work on the district initiatives with grade levels. Our instructional routes will be connected to our district initiatives. Academic conferences will be about major district initiatives. Our ILTs, instructional leadership teams work will be focused on that too. We will also be more intentional about data. We're planning to develop district-wide assessment plan. We started working on that already. We do a lot of professional learning in this district. You've heard already presentation about Yale Summer, and you heard about Silicon Valley Math Initiative, but we also had a whole day of units of study, and we'll have another day on September 25th. We had Reach for Reading training, we had Eureka Math training for all of our new teachers. Our cohort of teachers is joining, science cohort of teachers is joining NGSS at ACO science cohort. We had district-wide racial equity training. The superintendent and myself are attending Leadership Network. It's a year-long training at Alameda County Office of Education. The principals and myself are attending co-work coaching network to support teachers better. We also have English language proficiency assessments for California Academy, which I will be attending with the 2 ELD teachers and ELD coordinator. And we also had some training on effective collaboration strategies and questioning strategies for middle school already. And we're planning to continue all that work. So that's our plan. And now Ms. Good will talk about high school.
Okay, so I'm going to do a really quick and dirty presentation of some of our data. So these are our 2017 SBAC scores. As you can see, it's broken down by our largest ethnic demographics. You can see it goes exceeded, met, nearly met, and not met. So this is just kind of a snapshot of where we were last May or June. In the next upcoming slide, I'll talk about kind of a longitudinal picture of how of the areas that we improve, the areas where we need work. As you can see, we continue to have a need for. We have to do something to increase the performance of our African American students. There's nothing anybody can tell me that will make me believe that none of our black students are able to exceed mastery, period. So part of our equity training and part of the conversations that we're having is what do we need to do to, one, make our content more accessible and more relevant? How do we kind of build relationships with our African American students to make sure that they're actually engaging with the content in the classroom? And how do we bring parents into the fold to make sure that we are doing everything we can to connect the dots between home and school? So this is the change for our all students. As you can see, and this is a comparison to our 2016 SBAC scores. Our standard exceeded went up by 7%. Our standard met went down by 5%. I actually kind of combined those two in my head, and we have net growth of basically 2% of students who are meeting or exceeding standard. For a standard nearly met, that increased by 11%, which could be good or bad depending on how the rest of your data looks. In our case, it's good because as you can see, standard not met, which is kind of the lowest rung, it decreased by 10%. So if we're just thinking about numbers, remember this is not a matched cohort model, then what that means basically is that we have decreased the number of students that we have scoring at the very lowest ranks of the standard not met. And we're starting to move kids. Part of the reason I think that we are doing this is because we had a site-wide instructional focus of making a claim and supporting it with multiple forms of textual evidence. And so that was done, see? My girls are like, yes, we did. And so we were doing that across multiple content areas. And I think that's part of the reason why we kind of have improved that. We got a lot of bang for our buck with that. And also the clever strategy that Mr. Green, our 11th grade teacher, is spearheading. It's all about claims, evidence, analysis, and response. And so I think that's also a part of why we're seeing the growth in our ELA area. We're going to continue with those things this year. We're continuing with Clever. Mr. Green actually did a training on our 2 beginning days about Clever. Basically, it's all about claims and evidence. And we have decided that we're going to keep that same instructional focus. So specifically for our African American students, we had an increase in standards met of 9%. We had an increase in standards nearly met by 5%. And you can see that the number of African American students in our standards not met category decreased by 13%. This was one of our major goals in our SPSA for 2016-17. And I'm really, really happy that we actually made the gain. Our goal was to decrease standard not met by at least 10%. We did that. Our goal was also to increase standard met by 10%. We missed it by 1, but at least we still posted some decent growth, and I expect that it's going to be even better this year. We talked about math last time. Math is definitely the Achilles heel of the high school, or it was last year. That's no longer the case, and I'll talk about a few reasons why. Our math scores are highly problematic. As you can see, we had an increase in students not meeting standard. We had a decrease in the standard met, but we also had an increase in the standard exceeded. So we had basically a net increase of students meeting or exceeding standard. But it continues to be an area that we're working on. One of the ways that we are dealing with this, actually there's a lot, and I'll show you in a second. These are our African American student numbers. Honestly, I wish I didn't even have to show these to you, but if we're going to have to deal with something, we have to give it a name. We have to call it out, and that's what this is. It's absolutely utterly unacceptable that our African American students were essentially not being served last year in our math classes at all. These numbers are just repugnant, and I'm going to talk about what we're doing to change it. So in 2016-17, we started to double block our Algebra 1. So with the way that our schedule works, we have even days and odd days. So if a student has a double block, what that means is they actually just have their math class every day instead of every other day. We started that last year because we had noticed that that students had a big need for like gap filling and things like that. We decided this year to also do the same thing for Algebra 2. So both Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 students have those every day. We're implementing district level assessments. Those are the SBAC blocks and the comprehensive assessments, and we're going to use that data basically to drive our instruction, to see where our weaknesses are, see where we have to focus, and ensure that we're adequately prepared for SBAC and that students have had the opportunity to interact with the SBAC format. We already talked a little bit about the additional collaboration and planning time with the math department and vertical planning, and we have an amazing math teacher named Mr. Herrera. We're extremely fortunate that we were able to find somebody of such incredible quality at the late date, because he wasn't hired until July. It is nothing short of a miracle that we have somebody that is in there working. And I know he's working because my kids are telling me, my 10th and 11th graders particularly, are telling me that they are learning from him, that they are enjoying him, that he is all in the content, and that's what we want for our kids. So that's it.
Ms. Good, I have a question pertaining to just the numbers that were given to us. Two things. I hate to say it's not turnover, but because if you gauge a student's performance from year to year, if you have a change in the number of students and different students coming into our school system, is that accounted in the numbers, or is it just 10th to 11th, 11th to 12th, and it's just documented in that sense?
So I think I understand your question. I'm going to try to answer it. So high school only tests in the 11th grade, right? And so we don't have a cohort match model where like we test in 9th and then we can compare and see if there's been growth or subtractive learning between 9th and 10th, 10th and 11th, 11th and 12th. For us, it's a one-shot deal. So it basically shows us what have we been doing for 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade to prepare students to meet the high school level standards, right? So what we can see is that in 9th grade and 10th grade and 11th grade in English, we did give students a reasonable number of skills. What we can see is the exact opposite for math. And so that's why we're trying to put all these different kind of things into place, because by the time, honestly, we find out, we don't get this data until they're in their senior year. The data that we're looking at right now is for these ladies' classes, right? And so we kind of have to look. We have to look at, one, what's happening in the classroom, and two, use wisely the assessments that are available to us, like the SBAC interims and the SBAC comprehensives, to make sure that the way that we're instructing is aligned to the Common Core standards, to make sure that the level of mastery is appropriate for the grade level, because you know, in math, most of it, a lot of the standards kind of spiral. That's pretty much true with most of Common Core. So, I mean, it's kind of, I think, also about what Dr. Kell talked about, and that's having kind of a district-wide use of Common Core-based assessments, because that's a culture that we're having to build, right? And so that's what we're planning to do, and hopefully I'm willing to bet money that next year we're not going to see the same kind of travesty that we did here with our math scores. And I'm willing to bet that we're also going to see a lot of the positive changes that we did with our English scores. So we all kind of, in the high school, we all as a family have decided, like, okay, what can we do to help with the math? We already knew what we were going to do for ELA. So like just today, I was in one of my chemistry classes and they were doing some math that I am unable to do. But my chem teacher told me, he was like, we're hitting math hard, early, and fast. And that's what we're going to have to do. My history teacher is using statistics. So we across the board are trying to support all of our kids in building the appropriate skills.
Ms. Good, if you don't mind, I should share with the board and the community that your strategy of doubling up and increasing the amount of time in algebra is very effective, and the one outcome of that is that even though high school enrollment is up, which is great, you have a wait list of kids coming in this year, and you can't take them all right now. So I just wanted to share that with the board. You're putting into place some strategies that you believe, as the instructional leader, will make a difference. And at the same time, it also means we can't take in as many ninth graders as you're getting requesting this year.
Yeah, we can't. We currently have, I think, a 9 to 10 student wait list for the ninth grade. I'm at 32 in Algebra 1, and I'm taking in 2 new residents this week. So I'll probably be at 33 in Algebra 1, and then I'm probably going to be at 31, 32 in one of my geometry classes and sitting in about 30 at the other one. Those classes are actually very large for us, but that was the only way that we're actually able to give kids math every day. And 2 things that we're committed to is 1, giving kids math every day, and 2, ensuring students have access to 4 years of science. So that's where we are. That's what we're doing.
Just one other thing, just on the presentation tonight. Were there attachments in the agenda? Okay, it would have been nice to have those numbers just to look at before. So it's just something for the future.
Sorry.
Oh, it's all right. It's all right. What's that? Okay, but just even so we can just take a glance at it so we know what's coming, rather than seeing on the screen and being surprised by a number of things.
Yeah, I'm sure. I was surprised too, and not in a good way for some of it. Yeah.
I'm appreciative of you grabbing the bull by the horns and acknowledging that this is happening, but more importantly, putting a plan in place to help us improve. So that, again, that to me shows leadership, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Rubio, could you tell us when the actual numbers might be coming in? I know that I've read online that they're slow.
Yeah, there was a change recently. So as you may know, and the public may know, the numbers were embargoed longer than planned by the state until last Wednesday night, I believe. Dr. Kell, you just got an email. Do you recall? I didn't get to see. The week of the 18th of September is when the state now plans.
Yeah.
Okay, so we believe it's the week of the 18th. Member Inch.
Thank you.
Sure.
I know this was just an informational item, but is there a public comment on this? All right, please step up to the podium, please.
Well, one nice thing about living in the same place for 35 years is you get to get a lot of perspective. And so, we hired this new superintendent, Dr. Rubio. He's going to do great things for us. We built this new edifice, or this new campus, which was really going to help improve test scores, we were told. And Mr. Rubio gets in charge, and the first thing that starts happening is the teacher retention starts plummeting. Mr. Rubio is coming up with different ways to spin that to make it seem as if it's not as bad as it is, but it's the worst in the entire East Bay. And every year it gets worse. So, also test scores. Since Mr. Rubio has been in charge, test scores every year ratchet down. Now, I'm not a big one on test scores, using test scores as a barometer. What test scores generally show is the relative affluence or wealth of students' home, their parents or their guardians. That's been shown pretty clearly. So I'm not a big one on using test scores as a barometer to determine whether or not a school district is doing a good job. Teacher retention, I think, is what you should be looking at. But Mr. Rubio says we shouldn't be looking at that. So what do we have left? We have test scores. So what we see here, in our new building that we were told, we spent basically $400 million after financing on this building. And what we were told unequivocally was this was going to improve test scores. And look, now this is 2016-17, first year of the new building. We should see an uptick since we spent $400 million and we were promised. Instead, we see the opposite. Now, of course, you can You can go in there and find little cohorts that have improved here and there, but you just look at the overalls. It's worse in the new building. So, I mean, I'm not sure what to do with this. I'm wanting to bring my daughter back to the school district for high school, but I can't put her in a district that's this dysfunctional with the teacher retention, teachers flying out of here, and then test scores plummeting with a new building. I mean, so we just heard tonight that one of the reasons why the test scores may be down is because of the new building, which is really, I really don't want to hear that after, a decade of telling us that this was going to turn this district around, this new building, this new campus, to now hear, well, it's the first year of the new building. I mean, there was reference made to that. And, that is really odious. After all that hoopla and all that castigating against naysayers, to now be told that maybe the new building, we need to settle in more or something. It's just, this is really, really discouraging. And I think what the principal said it best, I think the word she used was repugnant.
Any other comment? Seeing none, we will move on to the next item. And it's bond program update presentation. Dr. Rubio, can you give shed a light on that?
Sure. The purpose of this item is for Caldwell Flores Winters, CFW, to present the district the annual bond program update, which does include the new 17-18 assessed valuation and tax rates. Thank you for being with us tonight.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Here, let me.
Oh.
It's down.
He might not be able to get to it.
Oh, he is. And then if I change the page, I just do it from down like right here. Can I come up like that? Is that good? Good, perfect. Hello, everybody. I am John Greenlee, the financial advisor to the district. And tonight, what I'm going to be doing is just providing what we call our annual bond program update, and just providing you with the new numbers that have come in. These are very important numbers when you look at the bonds that you have outstanding. And again, just to be able to answer any questions that the board may have or the staff may have. Okay? So to give you just a little bit of background here, you currently had a $95 million bond program, and to date we have issued $71 million worth of bonds, and that leaves a remaining amount of authorization for future issuances of around $23.6 million. I have highlighted the bonds that either have been partially refunded or are potentially able to be refunded. And as you can see, those are the bonds that usually have the higher interest rates, have the higher repayment ratios. And what we do is we always monitor those about every 6 months or so, just to make sure that if the market and they're able to be refinanced, that we are able to do that to help lower the tax payments. And we're going to see the effect of these on some of these slides that I have for you. Okay. To date, we have completed 3 refundings. Most recently, which I will highlight, we completed earlier this year, and we saved the district about $5.2 million. So to date, with all the issuances that we have done in the refundings here, I just wanted to show everybody that we have had savings of around $6 million. And what that means is we reduced the amount of money that you have to pay back by about $6 million, thus lowering your annual tax payments. So what we have here, this is the key information. This is what really drives your tax rates. And as you can see here, We just received our numbers, and they've come in at around a 6%, a 5.8% increase in assessed values. That means there are more taxpayers paying money. Therefore, the impact should be favorable to the tax rate. You have more assessed value, and that's a very good number. I will tell you, throughout California, what you're seeing is about an average of about 3.5% to 4% increases. So Emeryville's having a larger increase than you see statewide. And
can I interject for a second?
Sure.
A quick question. What is assessed?
The assessed value is what the property is valued at.
Are the district?
That's all the property within the district. So all the property that lies within that they levying the bond taxes on. So it's all within the district boundaries. So in other words, it'd be all within the city of Emeryville. Yeah. So in other words, right now, if you added up the value of all the commercial buildings, all the residential buildings, everything that's not exempt, like churches and government buildings aren't included, you'd come up with a total value of $5.3 billion. Okay? So what has the impact been? And so again, I said that was pretty good news. So what I've given you is just a chart here for you to see what your annual tax rate has been here. And what we see from 2014, after we issued that large amount in 2013, we've seen a steady decline in your tax rates. That is a good thing. And this year, the number that came in, it came in at $65.60. And this is really going to be due to your 3-year average of about an 8% growth rate. And then also we've had some savings generated by the refundings. So this is exactly what you like to see. It's a very, very good story. And we will, our estimation is that this will continue to decline, especially if you look at some future refundings. And the fact is you probably aren't going to be issuing any debt. Assessed value is going up. So it looks as though your tax rates are going to be going down, which is all very, very good news when you're reporting to the public.
May I ask if you know how these compare to other districts, or John, would you happen to know?
I'd be more than happy to provide you with one that would show, especially other unifieds within the Bay Area. I'm going to just say, based on what I know, you probably have a lower tax rate compared to some. Most districts have 2 or 3 elections, so their total tax rate is normally, usually sometimes around $100, $120. I know that San Francisco, for example, I think they're north of like $250.
Wow.
Very, very large. But that's actually a very good thing because it kind of tells where you're at. So one of the things I'll do is a follow-up, and I can then provide that to Dr. Rubio, and you can then pass that on to you. And we'll do a comparison for you. More than happy to do that for you. Okay, so one of the things, like I said, we do right now, interest rates are at this crazy historical low, and that's really driven by things that were out of our control, clearly. But most importantly, it's just the world events. So the fact that you have the North Korea and some of the other destabilizing effects create a flight to safety. In other words, interest rates in the U.S. go down. And so even from the last time that we did your refunding and issued debt, we are at this lower number, 273. And so we looked at your 2013, and you saw those before, and I'll just kind of go back to that. You can see there, these right here, these bonds right here, they were in 2013. They had a repayment ratio of about a 3.9, about 4 times. And that's because interest rates were high, and in order to issue those, the money you needed to build here, we had to issue some capital appreciation bonds. So those had a little bit higher rate.
Could you, just out of curiosity, which ones are the capital appreciation bonds on that chart?
Yeah, in this 2013 column right here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so those are a little bit higher in rate, and as a result, they have a little higher repayment ratio. Now, because interest rates have come down so much, I'll go back to here, we've looked at those, and if we were to do those and actually just replace capital appreciation bonds with some new capital appreciation bonds at a much lower rate because of the low interest rates, right now you could probably generate about a $4 million savings with those in that 2013 category.
Well,
Yes.
and the reason I'm asking, on your second bullet from the bottom, you said potentially replacing the capital appreciation bonds with current interest bonds.
Right.
So is that a different type of bond?
Yes, that's a different type of bond. So that means a current interest bond, you pay interest every year. Okay? A capital appreciation bond has some deferral interest so that you can manage your tax rate. What has happened in the last probably 3 to 5 years is that capital appreciation bonds, the premium for them or the cost for them have gone down because they've been used more efficiently. So the cost of a capital appreciation bond and that of a current interest bond are almost very close.
Is it fair to say that current interest bonds are, in general, a better way for school districts to proceed?
Yes, it
than
is.
the other
That's
ones?
exactly right.
Okay.
So if you can, most districts, most financial advisors that are managing your portfolio, as time goes on, if we can replace the more expensive bonds with cheaper bonds, especially if your tax rate is going down, we make your portfolio more efficient. So you have, because you have these high growth in assessed values, and we have these low interest rates, these opportunities, and we just want to make sure that you're always aware of them and know that they're there. So since I knew I was coming back, we had them reviewed, and so currently have that. So if ever directed by you, I can give the information in more detail and provide that to Dr. Rubio, and if you'd like to bring it again for further consideration, we can do that. We do believe that the interest rates are going to stay low. There's nothing that we see that's going to change the information that's coming out of Washington, is that there's not going to be any change to monetary policy that we know of, and we do know that the demand for California bonds is very high. So currently there's more investors that want to put their money in California. That keeps these rates low. So that's what I wanted to provide you. I think it's all very, very good news. And when you're managing a large portfolio, we take our fiduciary responsibility very seriously. We always want to make sure that you're equipped with the most current information, and for us to be able to bring back to you any information that you think would be advantageous for you as you disseminate the information to your stakeholders, that is the citizens and the taxpayers here in Emeryville. So with that, the takeaway I have is I will give you a comparison. I'll put one together, and you should have that shortly, and it'll be taken out to you. And I can talk further with Dr. Rubio about the refunding opportunities that currently exist, and he can make a decision if it's appropriate to bring it forward for you.
I would like to say thank you for your help too, and your firm's help for the last few years. You know, we didn't end up having enough funding for this project over the last few years, and we've helped the city of Emeryville repeatedly in the last several years over and over, because they didn't have any, well, they didn't offer any other money. So the school district has continued to add to the project and add to the project, and so I appreciate your firm's help with that.
Great. Well, we're right here in the backyard. We actually are based in Emeryville, so it's an honor and a pleasure to always serve the citizens, the board, as well as the school and the district. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any public comment regarding this? Any other comments or clarifications for the presenter? And this was informational only, so we'll move on to the next. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the next item is item 5.6, the agreement with San Francisco State University for social worker interns, and it's an action item. Dr. Rubio?
Yes, good evening. Ms. Tamery is going to go ahead and change the slide on the screen. We're asking for approval of the 2017-2020 San Francisco State University and EUSD social worker intern agreement. We allow students enrolled in social worker degree programs to be placed in our schools, which gives them practical experience and helps us quite a bit as well at the same time. And this is for your approval.
All right. Okay. All right. With that in mind, we get to see some media? Okay. All right, let me pull this up. Sorry for this. Yeah, just an attachment. I mean, do we have any clarification or questions for Dr. Rubio? If there's no public comment, I should say. Questions for Dr. Rubio?
No questions.
No. Ms. Hinch? No. Okay. We do not have any questions for this, Dr. Rubio. Any follow-up on this?
No, I appreciate your assistance with this tonight. It is a little bit of a difficult time. Ms. Harrell is just coming back part-time, and so we usually would have her here this evening to help lead this item, and she's still partially recovering.
Okay. With that being said, then let's go ahead and I have a motion for this item?
I'll move.
I will second that. Roll call, please.
Member Ball?
Yes.
Member Solis?
Yes.
Member Inch?
Yes.
Member Vargas?
Yes.
President Merriam?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. On to item 5.7, that's the approval of 2016-2017 fiscal year unaudited actuals.
Yes, we have Ms. Doris Sue to present and ask for your approval of the unaudited actuals tonight. Doris Sue, thanks for your preparing this. I know it's been a lot of work. You might want to bring, you can bring the whole thing down, maybe, Doris.
Good evening. Tonight, we're going to look at the 16-17 unaudited actuals. And the closing was actually done based on the average daily attendance, ADA, 16-17 P2 number, which is 649.52. So in case anybody questioning about what is the ADA, and ADA is very critical for a school district. ADA stands for average daily attendance. And it is calculated as the number of days each student attending school divided by the total instructional days offered. And this number is different from the enrollment number. It is based on the actual student attendance at school each day. For example, if a student attending the school 100 hours of the 100 instructional days, then that means the school will earn an ADA factor of 1. But if a student missing 10 school days, then that means the school will lose funding and the ADA factor will become 0.90. So ADA credit is only given for the actual days the student attending school. No ADA credit will be given for any absences, whether they are excused or unexcused. So then each student ADA factor is then multiplied by the LCFF funding per student to determine total LCFF funding. And as of the 16-17 fiscal year, is about $9,600 per student on the LCFF funding. The district LCFF funding per student amount is determined by the state and is specific to each individual district.
Ms. Doris Sue, if I can just amplify the importance it is to our student members of the board to please tell their friends at the high school that it is really important not to be absent from school, and it does actually hurt us financially every time a student is absent. I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. So on this slide, you see it shows the last 10 years for Emery School District, the P2 ADA. So two factors that affect the ADA calculations. One, how many students enroll in the district? And then two, how many days the school students will miss in the year. that will determine this ADA calculation. And to mitigate the impact of the declining enrollment, the state has allowed the districts using the better or the greater of the current ADA or the prior year ADA. So let's say if you look at this chart, for 16-17, it's 649.52. But for 15-16, the ADA is 668.26. So when we close out the book for 16-17, the state allows the district to use the better one of the 2 years to do the closing. In this case, so for our 16-17 closing, it's actually the funding ADA is 668.26 because this number is greater than the one that we have this year.
Dora, a quick question for you.
Yes.
Would you happen to know what percentage of our funding is tied to attendance?
Basically, the LCFF funding is all based on the ADA.
And that's the only
which is
component
the
of revenue
P2
that's tied to ADA?
That's right.
Thank you.
And I want to dovetail into Mr. Cruz's question. And what percentage is LCFF for the entire district? Is it around 75%?
About half.
And then 25 is from the measures as far as restricted monies?
Well,
Okay,
it's
see on this slide,
about
that
half,
will
right?
show you what's the percentage of the LCFF. So it's 6.7 million out of the 12 million. So I don't have the calculator, so I'm not
55%?
sure
Okay.
what's the percentage.
55-ish, maybe?
But it's a
Right.
big chunk. Yeah. So you have any question? No? Okay, all right.
Mhm.
So this slide showing you the income funding for Emery. And it's LCFF, the federal, state, and the local income for a total of $12.08 million. And this slide shows you the expenditures for last year, 16-17. And it breaks it down into certificated, classified, benefits, books, services, and so on. And on the lower half, the bottom half of the slide, the 101,521, the transfer out, is the general fund contribution to food services. Fund balance. So you will see the ending balance for our fiscal year 16-17 is $3.979 million. And then it also, on this slide, it also shows you the components of the ending balance. And then the 4% required reserve is $459,997. And then the $15,529, that is our 77% on the ECCL capital reserve.
Dora, another question. If we were to go back to the first estimates that were made for 2016, 2017, how do you think these compare to those?
When you said first estimate,
Yes.
you mean going back to the original budget?
Yeah, to the original budget that you had built for this year. How do you think we are? How far off do you think we are?
Well, actually, to tell the truth, the ending fund balance is in a better position than what we original projected. And we are going to see the details later on in the following slides. And then this one, see, what I did is way back in June when we did the original budget for 17-18, we did estimated actuals for the 16-17. And now on this slide is comparing the 16-17 estimated actuals with actually what was being closed as of June 30th, 2017 for the unaudited actuals. And you see the difference, what we projected back in June and what we are right now as of today. So on the income side, we do see an increase of 418,000. And the details of the changes are spelled out right here. This slide shows you the changes on the LCFF. And this one is on the federal funding. And this one is the state funding. Say the LCFF, both of the LCFF and federal fundings, we are seeing an increase from what we projected back in June. But for the state funding, we see a slight decrease of $10,000. Other
Dora?
local, yes.
Apologize. If you could go back 2 slides. Sorry, I got too close to the mic. One more slide on LCFF revised changes. One more.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. On that amount from property taxes, does that mean that a portion of the property taxes that we collect are a function then of ADA?
The way that it works for the LCFF, every single time when you see a deduction, a reduction on the property taxes, the state aid will pick up the difference. So in this case, you see a reduction in the property taxes, which is regarding the redevelopment funds under the property taxes. We see an actual reduction of 1.2 million. And because of that, then the state aid pick up the difference.
And if I may add, that's not true in all school districts, right? Because I think the state has 2 different types of funding models. Very, very wealthy districts, I think the state does not pick up a change, but in some districts they do. I forget what the 2 models are called. Is that possibly right?
As long as the school districts are LCFF funded school districts, every single time they see less money from the property taxes, they will pick it up from the state aid.
Okay.
No matter what.
Oh.
But I think you're talking about the basic aid.
Oh, yes.
Those are the rich district, the property taxes pay for beyond what the state aid entitlement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I could relay this back, does it mean that we received 1.6 million from state aid regarding LCFF?
On this one, we received the changes from what we projected back in June. The difference is we are going to receive additional 1.59 million out of state aid. But at the same time, we are going to see a reduction of 1.28 million on the property taxes.
So we received an extra 1.6 from the state,
Yes.
but the state, because they get first dibs on property taxes,
Well, I
We
think
gave
you're
them
talking
1.2.
about the additional $300, $300,000. It's actually the increase of LCFF that we received for fiscal year 15-16, that we received in 16-17.
Right. I understand that. I'm still trying to understand how funding works for us. And so I'm still trying to understand what those property taxes mean or where they came from.
The property taxes.
There's a 1.2 million, the 1.3 million that you're showing to us.
Well, the way the property taxes, the county office will send out a periodic report to all the districts telling them what's their projected property taxes that they're going to receive. And up to the P2 report that we still receive from ACOE, is still saying that we're going to receive more than $5 million altogether in the property taxes. But then actually when we close out, at the time when we close out the book, actually the actual numbers that we got from ACOE now is now reduced to only beyond $4 million. So there is a reduction on the property taxes when the numbers finalized, and it was reduced by $1.2 million.
I see.
And
Thank you.
because it was reduced by the property taxes, it picked it up by the state aid.
I understand that now. Thank you.
Okay. So now after we look at the funding, we're going to look at the expenditures. So after update, expenditures are increased by 2,869. So what we projected back in June is pretty close to what actually we spent for the year 16-17. And the difference on that 2,869, this slide shows you the detailed breakdown. So pretty well, we spend more money on the certificated and classified salaries, but at the same time, we did not spend as much that we projected for the contracts. So turn out the additional expenditures for 16-17 is only come to $2,869. So contributions. So 2 programs requiring general fund support, which is the special ed and the maintenance, and it's a total of $1.5 million for 16-17. So we already mentioned general fund to cafeteria is 101,000. So these are the fund balances for the different funds for fiscal year 16-17. So any questions on the 16-17 unaudited actuals?
No, Dora Sue, I just want to make sure the board is clear, and probably back on your second page. This is the second year in a row that we're in a positive state in terms of revenues over expenditures, and I don't know the last time the district's been in that condition. It's also my understanding, and I don't want to say the names of the districts, but that other districts are really struggling right now, and the county has actually rejected some of their budgets in the last few weeks. So I don't want to say what districts they are, but I'm really proud of our work. I know we've made a lot of hard decisions, and I wanted to thank you for your help with that over the last couple of years, because I don't think we'd be in this kind of shape otherwise.
Well, actually, that clearly shows on your multi-year projection. If you look at the MYP, the multi-year projection spreadsheet, you can clearly see 15-16 and 16-17, we ended up having additional money added on to the ending fund balance. So before I go, I would like to make a comment to Dr. Rubio. Thank you for all your support and advice. I look forward to work with you in this school year to balance the budget as we face more challenges coming.
I look forward to it too.
Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll move to questions for Ms. Dorsu from the board. Any other questions? Okay. It is, let's see, it is an action item. So would like to find out if there's any other discussion amongst the board.
My only comment is that first I would echo what John just mentioned about the financial state of the district. I think it's an enviable position to have. I do, like as I've mentioned in the past, I do want to encourage us as a board to proactively look out for upcoming years. We can see our financial state being very different within 3 years. It's still positive, but it's definitely something that we should absolutely consider, especially knowing now that our tax rates are there's room there. That gets me excited because it means that we can put that money to use as I've mentioned in the past.
I agree, Mr. Cruz, Argus. I was going to mention, Mr. Arsu, you do a tremendous job of this as far as compiling these figures and giving them a concise presentation, and I do appreciate it. I know it's numbers, but I like numbers, so good to see that. I think this is a reflection on our district versus other governmental agencies in this municipality, I should say. That I think, not to toot our own horn, but we've put our house in order financially comparing to some other municipality that we have a good relationship. So I just wanted to put that out there that we've done a number of things, hard choices that resulted in the balance sheet looking better than most. So I want to commend everybody's effort on that and actually the sacrifices that have been made by past decisions. So it has been tough, but I think we were rewarded in this statement tonight. With that being said, I just want to thank everybody involved.
I wanted to note that when I looked at the SACS report, our admin cost percentage is 13.31%. Looking at other schools across the state, 6% is a statewide average, but for schools the size of our district, it's about 9%.
I'm sorry, what are you referring to?
The SACS report, admin cost percentage. It's on page 112. I just want to point out that our admin cost does seem to be higher than the average school of our size. Being, 600 to 800 kids, the average is 9% for the state.
Yeah. What does that line represent? The one that you believe is high for us?
I'm sorry, what?
You mentioned that one of those lines feels high compared to other districts. What line is that? What does that line represent?
Administration cost, admin costs.
And I'm sorry, I'm having trouble. You said page 112?
When I looked at it, yeah.
Oh,
But
maybe
it's the
numbered.
SACS report, and you can look at it later, but our admin cost percentage does appear to be 13.31%.
We're just trying to follow. I'm having trouble trying to locate the number that you're.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It might be a number in the PDF. That's why it's not numbered on here.
Is that the state software report? Or is that
Is that part of the packet, member Inch? That's part of the packet tonight?
Yeah, it was in the attachments.
It's probably PDF page number one. So I'm trying to locate it, and I don't know if it's because of our small size or not. We still are much smaller in admin staff than we used to be. I don't know. I'd have to look at it more closely.
I'm just pointing out that it's high compared to others.
Do you have the title on the, what is that on the top?
It's the SACS report.
Because I don't have a package of what you guys got.
I don't have it in front of me right now either.
Dora Sue, she doesn't have it in front of her.
I don't have it in front of me. It was an attachment online.
Yeah, it's here. The attachment is in the agenda. It's just that you're looking at sheet 112.
It's just the concept of having a high admin cost.
Sure. Well,
compared to other statewide.
certainly we'll look at it. We've done a lot of work to keep our costs down, and so we'll keep doing that. I appreciate you pointing it out.
Thank you.
I mean, we talked about this in the past, and it's part of our work with regards to the district goals. I think we're addressing that there. I have no further comments.
Okay. Any other comments? Anything from the student representatives? All right. Okay. This is an action item. With that being said, do I have a motion?
I'll move.
I will second that motion. Roll call, please.
Member Ball?
Yes.
Member Solis?
Yes.
Member Inch?
Yes.
Member Vargas?
Yes.
President Merriam?
Yes. Motion carries unanimously. And the next item is item 5.8, which is the approval of Resolution 3, 2017-2018 GAN limit. Dr. Beal?
Yes, Ms. Dora Sue, would you explain this one to the board? I know this one comes every year.
Okay, so this one, each year, the governing board is required to adopt the GAN limit resolution. The GAN limit was designed to limit the growth in the government spending. It measures the revenue growth for all government entities and factors in the inflation and population. For school districts, the population will be our ADA. The basics for recalculation each year is the district prior year GAN limit, the new ADA numbers, and the inflation factors provided by the state. So financial information is extracted from the SACS financial reporting software report. The attached form, the GAN form, contains all the factors necessary to calculate the new GAN limit. And it's part of the state software report that you guys got. And the title of that form is under Form GANN, GAN, on your package. Through this calculation, the district revenue is exactly at the GAN limit. So if you can locate that form on page 3 of that GAN form, you will see our funding or revenue is exactly at the GAN limit level. So the staff is asking the board to approve the resolution.
So the attachment for 5.8 is only
One page.
one page? And we're referencing page number 3?
Is that the case, Ms. Dorsu?
I believe on your package that you have for the state software, the over 100 pages report that you got, and then if you look up on the upper right-hand corner, it will say form, and then the name of that form is GANN, GAN, and that is a form consists of 3 pages. If you look at the last page, page 3, you will exactly see after the upload of the information, we are at the GAN limit level.
Yeah, it's near the back of the packet, probably
Okay.
about
But
20 pages.
the online agenda did not have that. That's the unfortunate thing about this, is that we only have the one-page resolution.
It's the SACS report. It's in the SACS
Oh, it's
report
SACS.
in
Okay,
the
thank you.
previous item, yeah.
Okay. No, that's fine then. I've got it then.
That's one, two. It's about 25 pages from the back, I think. I know it says Form GAN, GANN at the top. Dorsu, probably just to help the board, we should probably make sure we know the PDF numbers so that we can help them spot these quicker down the next time, if we could.
Okay.
And whatever, and in the packet.
Then in that case, I would need a copy of that, the board package.
After we upload
Because
it.
normally I don't get a copy of the board package.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you
Not
find
having
it?
any questions.
Did you find it? Did you find the page?
I'm going to open up for public comment. If anyone here has public comment for this item? Seeing none. Questions for Ms. Dorsu?
I would just recommend if there's no pressing deadline that we bring this back again so that we can just look at the document, because unfortunately I can't follow.
Dorsu, is there a deadline that you have with the county or anything on this? Because the board may want this to come back so they can see it, they can spot it a little faster.
It's supposed to be turned in with the unaudited actuals together to the ACOE
And what's the deadline for that?
by September 15. So that means I have to turn it in everything to ACOE after the board approval.
Well,
this week.
let me recommend, Member Vargas, may I ask you a question? If we can point out what page number it is in the PDF, would that, all of you have the electronic copy in front of you?
Yeah.
Or can I just give you a copy?
Or you have a paper
I
copy,
do
Dora?
have a copy right here.
Okay, can we hand one to the audience as well? Do you have enough for Mr. Wall? And
Can we make some copies?
yeah, if you don't have enough there,
Can we come back to this item?
We can.
you want to take a 3-minute recess and
Yeah,
stretch
let's go
break?
ahead and take a 3-minute recess just for
We'll
this
make copies real quick.
administration. A recess. Barbie, do you have it? Are you waiting for a hard copy?
Dora, did I get one?
these all the same?
All right. All right. We'll go ahead and reconvene the meeting. We have our nice fresh copy of the GAN form. So we can follow along now, Ms. Dorsu.
And then on the last page, page 3, where you will see the summary, is that adjusted appropriations limit is $8.8 million. And then line number 12, appropriations subject to the limit is 8.8. So what it's saying is the district where you is exactly at the GAN limit for 16-17.
Doris, do school districts go over it sometimes? And if they do, what happens?
If they do, they have to notify the state to let them know so that the state can adjust their portion.
I see. So the state would probably pull back some of their own money.
So is this by design, or is this a very fortunate coincidence that both of these numbers match?
Well, this is decided way back years ago. The purpose of this calculation is making sure the government entities not spending crazy on their expenditures. So it put a criteria or restriction that making sure your expenses are not over the limit that they set up. And this formula is based on by the new inflation factor of each year, and also the new population. In this case, for school districts, is the ADA numbers that we have. And once the software uploaded everything to the state software, then this form is generated by the system itself.
So we're basically not taking in more money than we should be, according to the formula, I guess.
Yeah,
Basically.
we're not spending more than
Revenue or expenditures?
expenditures.
Expenditures, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Ms. Dorsu, forgive me, have we, the previous year, we've gone through this before?
Mhm.
And this form doesn't look
This
familiar.
is the part that we only do it once a year during the closing.
Okay, okay. I hadn't got this deep into this portion the last couple times, so I just.
If you look up last year, the unaudited actuals, I believe this was done, we printed out the resolution and also attaching the 3 pages together. But this year, we only did the resolution. And I thought you guys do have a physical copy of the state report that you guys can look into. I didn't know that it's not page. Yeah, so next year, what I will do, not only passing the resolution to the superintendent's office, I will make a copy of the 3 pages resolution. So it's easier to reference.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any other questions? Public comment? Okay, wrap it up. Any other discussions amongst here on the board? If not, do I have a motion for this item?
I'll move.
I will second that. Okay, roll call, please.
I was yawning.
Member Ball?
Yes.
Member Solis?
Yes.
Member Inch?
Yes.
Member Vargas?
Yes.
President Merriam?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Now we can go on to item 5.9, the approval for resolution 4-2 for the 2017-2018, the education protection account.
Doris, do you want to explain this one to us?
This one, you should see a spreadsheet on the education protection account expenditure summary for 16-17. The entitlement is 133,000. We spent the entire 133,000 on instructional functions. And again, this grant is not for any management or administration salaries.
Mhm.
So if I can relay this back, Dora, it means that there's $133,000 available for us. And because our instruction expense likely exceeds our 133, we can only charge up to 133,000 to this?
On this one,
And that's
yes.
what we're doing? Okay, great. Awesome. I have no further questions.
And the entire 133,000 was spent on teacher salaries in 16-17.
Any public comment? With none, any clarifying questions for Ms. Dorasu? No? Discussion amongst the board? All right. We'll move on to a motion. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move.
I will second that. Roll call, please.
Member Ball?
Yes.
Member Solis?
Yes.
Member Inch?
Yes.
Member Vargas?
Yes.
President Merriam?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. All right. Next item is, the approval of contract with Juvo Autism, Juvo Autism Behavioral Health Services. It's an action item.
Yes, we have Dr. Karen Steele with us this evening to help us walk through this item. Dr. Steele.
Good evening. This is the third year that I've brought a similar contract to the board. And by way of reminder for those of you that are new to the board, 5 years ago, we eliminated the 5 instructional assistants that the district had in our special education programs and instead added an additional special education teacher so that all of our students were being taught by credentialed teachers and no students were being taught by instructional assistants. 3 years ago, we ran out of placements for our preschool students, so we started our own preschool program. And predominantly those young children from 3 to 5 have autism and typically some significant behaviors associated with that. So in order to provide a program, a viable program, keep those children safe and also help them develop language, social emotional development, and behavioral skills, we contracted through an agency that is now called Juvo, but used to be called Educational Supports. And they provide behavioral aids to many school districts throughout the East Bay and North Bay area. So 3 years ago, we started out with just a couple of behavioral aids in the preschool program. And then the next year, the preschool students and cohorts moved on to TK. So we assigned one behavioral aid for every 2 to 3 students. And then this last year, those TK students moved on to kindergarten. And this year, they've moved on to first grade. We actually have their kindergarten teacher here that had a couple of those students with a behavioral aid assigned to them. And again, we keep the cohorts moving in that we are now back to the preschool having 2 aides. We currently have, excuse me, let me back up a little bit, because the request this year, the contract is a bit more than the one that came before you last year. So last year we had 2 pre-K aides plus a transition aid. And the agreement that we have with the Head Start program, where our students are co-enrolled in Head Start as well as in our own special education program, is that we have 3 seats in each preschool classroom in the Head Start. And we assign one behavioral aid to each of those classrooms. But the students that we've had these last 2 years have been more significantly involved than when we first started the program 3 years ago. So we've actually only been able to staff 2 students with 1 aide shared between those 2 students just for safety reasons. And so last year, the contract that came to you, I believe it was around $150,000, involved a transitional aid We hired an aide for 4 weeks that ended up, we had to keep the aide for the entire school year. So it actually turned out to be closer to $180,000 for that contract. We had an elementary aide, and we also had a high school aide, because we had all of these were students with autism that had significant behaviors. We had no other placements in out of districts. No districts had spaces for those. And one student we actually had to place in a non-public school because we couldn't find a placement, and they had those kinds of behaviors. This year, I'm happy to report that we don't have any out-of-district placements because we've brought those students back, and we've created a new program for those students. So the contract before you this evening, again, has 2 aides for the preschool, where we now have 5 students. We have 2 more students being assessed in the preschool, so it's possible that we could add another behavioral aide, and those are 3.5-hour aides from 8:30 to noon in the Head Start program. We have an elementary aide for the TK students. We have 2 of those students this year that have come up from preschool, so they share the aide. Both of those students are students with autism, as well as students, one student with an intellectual disability that needs more guidance. We have 2 students that have moved on to first grade, as I mentioned earlier. They share a behavioral aide. And then this year, we had 3 students. One was placed in an out-of-district program who had their own behavioral aide at a cost of $58,000 to this district. That's what we were charged for that full-time aide. We also had a student in a non-public school that had a full-time aide. We were also charged $35,000 for that particular aide. And we had a student last year that shared an aide with a few other students. Here to report that all 3 of those students are now sharing 1 aide. And the reason why we can do that is because we're contracting out for behavioral aides that are registered behavioral technicians. So many districts have instructional aides and behavioral aides, sometimes 2 different categories. Sometimes they typically also have what's called BCBAs, Board Certified Behavioral Analysts, and those are people that are well-trained in applied behavior analysis and are able to train and supervise the aides. We don't have anyone in our district that has that kind of training or ability to train. So these particular technicians go through 40 hours of training before they're ever hired. We're required to pay for an ongoing 3 hours of clinical supervision by one of these board-certified behavior analysts per aide per month. And they're required, each of the aides are required to do continuing education. So we are getting highly trained people, specifically in the area of autism, which is predominantly the students that we're serving with the behavioral aides. We're able to have board-certified clinical supervisors. If there's a particular area that we need an aide to be trained in, or we have a question about whether an aide can do a different kind of support technique, then the agency is actually the one required to train them. In our preschool program, we use evidence-based practices for children with autism, and in order to do that and be able to say that, we have to take data. And so instead of having someone else come in and take the data, the aides can actually take that behavioral data for the classroom teacher and then provide that to parents at IEP meetings. So some of the pluses of using this particular agency is they provide us with well-trained staff. They are less expensive than if we tried to go out and hire our own staff, particularly if we also had to hire someone to do the initial and the ongoing training. And probably the thing that's the biggest perk is we had 2 preschool students move at the beginning of this year, and I already had 3 aides contracted. And normally we have to give 20 days notice to an agency. I only had to give them 24 hours notice. And because there's such large demand for these folks in the East Bay area to work in other school districts, within 24 hours they were able to reassign that person, and we were able to opt out of that additional staff member. So it's easy to add and subtract staff depending on student needs, and because we do have some mobility in our student population, especially in the preschool program, that's been one of the bonuses of working with this particular agency. Any questions?
I'm going to open up for public comment first, if there's any. Being none, we'll go ahead and ask you some clarifying questions.
Sure.
Your ask tonight, do you believe that satisfies or meets the needs of the district? Would you still fall short? Do we need more?
I'm sorry, I can't really hear you. I think what you're saying is this going to be enough aides for the year?
Do you believe this is enough? Yes?
It's likely that we will have to add an aide in the preschool program because right now we're assessing 2 students that are turning 3. Both are children with autism. And we have 2 students that we know are coming to us who will be turning 3 that are already being served by the regional center. So we can predict those students coming, but again, they could move. And so I'm anticipating that we will need to add a 3rd aide, which would be another $26,000 because it would be a 3.5-hour aide per day on that particular program. But we wouldn't need to do that until the end of November. That's when the first child turns 3.
Thank you. It's also helpful to know that this program is sort of scalable.
It is.
Quickly, so
it is.
appreciate that.
And what happens is the longer the students are in the program, the more independent they become, the more reliant they become on their peers rather than the aides assisting them. And so over the course of 6 months to a year, you may see a student who needs a behavioral aid with them within a very close proximity that over that period of time, they're able to move more to a line of sight and maybe supervise 2 to 3 students at one time. And that's our goal, is to really fade back to the support in the natural environment, which is other kids and activities and using staff that are in the Head Start classroom.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
A quick question for John. These $200,000, are these already included in the 2017-2018 review that we saw a couple of minutes ago?
In the 27th, well, I think Dorsu, I thought she was presenting you, I'm sorry, well, she presented you the unaudited actuals for 16-17, but in multi-year projections, she has accounted for these.
They are?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Dr. Steele, I do have a question pertaining to, now as the pre-K student, are they part of, let's say they do have to go to a non-public entity, is that still covered under ADA as far as monies from the state, as far as paying for their transportation, paying for their basically care or education at the nonprofit or non-public school?
So it's a multi-part question. Let me
Okay.
see if I can answer each part of
All
it. Currently, there are no non-public school settings for preschool-aged children. So that was another challenge we had when we couldn't find a preschool placement. The second piece is we typically have only had 1 student at a time placed at a non-public school over each of the last few years. And I don't believe we did collect ADA on that particular student. I believe there was quite some conversation about how to go about doing that and what it would take.
And with that in mind, if they, let's say they do have an outside entity that they choose or they're directed to, is transportation cost involved with that?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Maybe I'm mixing the two, so forgive me if it doesn't get there. If let's say they find a non-public entity that will take the student, the transportation to get them to that location, is that reimbursed by the district, or is it through the state, or how is that done?
Oh, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So we actually do a number of things. So the student that we just brought back from a non-public school this year, last year her parent transported her to the school and back every day, and we reimbursed the parent.
Okay.
Another student who was placed in a non-public school, we contracted with a transportation company and paid that transportation company. And then we actually do get transportation funds in order to do that.
Okay. So it's almost like a pass-through. We don't.
It's not always enough to cover it, but yeah, we do get the funds.
Okay, so
for
there is
that.
some offset, but I'm just trying to.
And I
weigh
don't know where it's from. That would be a Dora Sue question. I apologize. That's something I can write down and follow up with her on.
I'm just trying to get kind of the general concept, because there's monies going out for this contract, but is there any? I'm looking for compensation or reimbursement to basically offset that a bit. And it sounds like there is a small amount, but not too great.
In transportation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But just to go back to the cost of trying to find programs for students like this, first of all, finding a program that would be appropriate is really a challenge. For this one student that we just brought back, I've been trying for 6 months, I've asked every district in the greater area, in the East Bay, over in West Contra Costa, and people are struggling with space and programs for kids with more moderate disabilities and those behavioral challenges. So I could not find a placement for that particular student. By creating the program, we were able to bring her back and another student back from another district placement that was costing us far more than the shared aid.
Yes. Okay. No, that's you answered my question. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. This is a action item. So we can, do I have a motion?
I'll move.
I will second that. Roll call, please.
Member Ball?
Yes.
Member Solis?
Yes.
Member Inch?
Yes.
Member Vargas?
Yes.
President Merriam?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Now we're on to item 5.
I'd like to thank you for your continued support of our programs. I'm going to be coming back hopefully next month and talking a little bit about the dramatic changes we've made in our special ed program over the course of the last 4 years, and I think you'll be very excited to hear what we're able to do now. Thank you.
Thank you for your help.
Thank you,
so
Dr.
much.
Steele.
All right, item 5.11, that's discussion of city school committee purpose.
Yeah, I don't know where the board would like to start in this conversation. I'd be happy to start it if you like, and I don't know if you want
Yes,
to delay
please,
it.
please do.
As the board may recall, the current joint operation authorization, or JOA, between the city and the school board, I believe requires that we meet every month as a joint city school entity. So neither the city of Emeryville nor the school district are currently following the JOA. I know we've had different schedules where we would meet every 4 months, we would meet every 3 months, that we're currently meeting every 2 months. And so I think one question I have as superintendent is how often does the board, would the board prefer to meet with the city, whether it's twice a year or is it every month, or what we currently have. The other question I think that has come up with the city of Emeryville, or that they have asked back in their June 20th meeting, was what should the role and vision of the committee be? And I'm glad the question is being asked, because it is a good question now that we're in ECCL, we're in this safe, beautiful facility, and it does sort of beg the question, well, in my mind, why would we meet as often as we currently meet? I'm a little concerned because I did watch the video from the June 20th City Council meeting, and I think there's a tendency, and it might not be just in Emeryville, I think this happens between cities and school districts all the time. I think there is some confusion that occurs. I heard comments that council members have a vested interest in the education of kids or the safety of kids. Well, so do we. So does the school board. I'd go as far as to say we have a vested interest in the success of the kids at ECDC down the street. Yet, however, we don't ask the city of Emeryville questions about ECDC, which sounds like a financial train wreck, but we don't get involved with that. So I'm a little concerned that the city council believes having a vested interest means that's their role. So that's how I would start the conversation.
All right. Thank you for putting it out there. I'm going to open it up for public comment if there's anything that has to do with this conversation, that you can step up to the podium. Looks like there is none, so we can ask questions of this. And thank you for bringing this up, Dr. Rubio. And I think I didn't get a chance to look at the video, but I'd like to kind of, my recollection on the whole situation is that maybe I should say this for discussion amongst us, because this is just more information, correct?
Yes, it is. And you may want to bring it back to the next meeting when you have the full board present.
I think that might be the case, because I think there's some from other board members that want to give them the opportunity to have their view voiced as well. So if that's the case, do we want to further this? I'm sorry, we're getting into this. We should have probably just postponed it, but we can probably have initial discussion pertaining to this, but bring it back to another for another board meeting when we have a full complement.
It's up to the three of you. What would you like to do?
Do you want to discuss any more of it?
I don't think we're going to be discontinuing the meeting. I think it's okay to decide how often we think we might want to meet. A mission or a goal seems acceptable, and yeah, we probably need the rest of the board members.
All right, all right. Mr. Vargas?
I would recommend we postpone this discussion until the full board is present. I think
All
it
right.
feels.
I think it's unanimous, then let's go ahead and.
So we'll bring
postpone.
this back?
Yes, please, thank
Okay.
you. All right, and the item 5.12, Pledge of Allegiance conversation. And here again, I think we may want to have the full complement.
I have mixed feelings. I'll let you
Well,
decide.
and our favorite person just isn't here, so unfortunately, that had voiced some.
No, I'm here. I'm not here. No.
No. So I think we can probably, since we don't have the full complement.
Would you like this one to come back?
Yes,
as well?
please.
Okay.
I mean, I should ask if
Number
it's okay with.
It's okay, but I think part of this discussion needs to be how it ended up being off the agenda, who made the decision, whether the board should actually, you know, that I don't care whether we have the Pledge of Allegiance or not, but I don't like the agenda being changed without the board.
Well, that does fall under the board president's and my responsibility.
Yeah.
So the question actually is the one I think you don't want to discuss, it sounds like, but whether or not it should be in the bylaws, I don't have much to say about it.
Yeah. And I think I think it was accidentally left off one time, and then from then on, it just kind of moved along that same venue. So I think that's my recollection, but I think we should probably wait for the remainder of the board to be here as well.
Sure.
I don't know. Are you okay then? We'll just wait. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll move. Okay. Item 6, calendar review.
Yes, we have, actually, let me just have, I'm not sure we have it on here, back to school dates.
No.
No, and I believe I'm going to go with what I have, and I'll have Ms. Tamery confirm with you. It sounds like it's September 20th for both the K-8 and the high school. I believe the time is 5:30 p.m., but we'll confirm through email with you.
What was that day again?
Next Wednesday, September 20th, for back to school for both the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school.
And then will this information be available on the district website?
Yes, absolutely.
All
And I'm
right.
sure we'll be blasting that out. The next regular board meeting is set for September 27th at 5:30 p.m. And we have no school for students on Monday, September 25th and October 9th for 2 additional professional development days.
You might want to add our training, board training.
Oh, thank you. And the date for the special board training is September 23rd, which is a Saturday. And I believe we're starting at 10 a.m.
All right. With anything else? All right. We're going to move on to item 6.1. It's the future agenda items. I know we had a litany of them, and it looks like we tackled a couple of them based on what's transpired. I do have a question, just as basically a suggestion, is that can we get these in a bullet list rather than paragraph?
Well, I think so. Ms. Tamery and I were just discussing this, but I'm not sure, will the software allow us to do that?
It doesn't.
Okay.
Okay.
You said paper.
We can actually cross off a couple, one more. I see another one, request for information. We did the technology inventory and monitoring tonight, so that one actually should come off. We'll have a warranty update for you at the next meeting.
Okay.
We still have, let's see, that's coming. We did actually, I don't know if you still want more space utilization or student flows based on what the principal shared tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you like that still to come in like a mapped form? Okay.
I'm sorry, going back to the format, you said a bullet list isn't possible. Could we put pipes in between? I mean, I see that we have little dashes, but I think a pipe might be.
Oh, sure, like a
and
forward
then-
slash? So,
Yeah, a pipe.
Any
or
way to break it out.
Oh, okay. Some separation.
Something more than the dash, and then possibly the date that they were put on the future agenda item, so we can get an idea as to how long they've been
Sure.
sitting around.
Could we do that going forward? I don't know if I'd be able to.
Forward is fine.
It's okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Mhm.
So date, so they got it? Okay.
And then also for something that's coming up, like ECC warranty, we have a date for it on a future agenda item, we have it scheduled, maybe we should add that it has been scheduled and maybe put it in the front.
If it's been scheduled,
Mhm.
Yeah,
the
put it-
date on
put
the front of
top,
it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, sounds good.
Any new board items?
Mhm.
Come on,
Do,
you gotta have some.
absolutely.
You gotta have some.
What, sure do. So the first one, we've spoken about this in the past. It was brought up again today, and it's just to talk about the exit process for when somebody leaves and what happens. And we'd love to get an understanding for that.
What it currently is and what it could be, I think, right?
Yeah, for sure. That would be even better. Your recommendation as to what we should do. Another item that has come up in my interaction with teachers and with the PTO is that my understanding is that we don't have an art teacher, and that we want an art teacher. Everybody wants an art teacher, and I would love to, if another board member agrees, that we can, direct John to provide a recommendation as to how do we get there.
I'd be happy to do that. I might want to include recommendations and challenges with that, and there's multiple reasons right now in the community why that's desired, so I would be glad to bring you that information.
And I think that's stipulated by one of the measures, isn't it?
No, it's one of the optional, there are many things we can spend the money on, but I'd be glad to give you some more information on this.
I remember you mentioned, if I recall, I believe that we just couldn't find the right person. Is that?
That is the primary reason we could not find a art teacher who demonstrated classroom management skills.
Okay, and then what about our CALA?
We still have CALA arts working at different grade levels.
That's supplemental, right?
That's supplemental. I mean, typically at elementary schools, remember, it's a little bit of a different situation for us. Most elementary school teachers are expected to do art in the classroom. We haven't had to do that. We've had the ability to have an additional teacher. Some years we've had 3 teachers outside of the normal teachers, art, library. Some years we haven't had music. I think we had art, library, and we had the science program for the elementary. Lately last year we had 4 teachers. We had art, library, music, and science. This year we're back to 3. Which did actually make the budget a little bit more easier to set up as well. But I'll be glad to bring this to you.
So I heard some verbal enrollment numbers. Will we be able to get a spreadsheet with enrollment per grade, and then also, like you did last time, able to include if they have an Emeryville address?
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I was wondering is if we could have the years that they've attended, the years that they've been with us. So if the 7th grade class, 50% of them, figure out the cohort. So if we have a 9th grade class, we want to know if they went to 8th grade with us.
That's going to be I can try to do it. I'm not sure if we have a way to do it. We probably have a way to do it. Member Inchford, I'd be glad to try. I bet we could take a look. Maybe our student information system will let us go back and see if they started with us and they've always been in Emeryville.
I mean, it's just a thought to see it.
Sure.
When we start looking at testing, it's important to see if they came to us from another school.
Yeah, we have a lot of wash in and wash out.
And I would, if at all possible, I'd like to see the tenure that the children spent here with us.
Got it.
Would be great for us to set our information up in a way that is easy for us to look at data that way.
Absolutely, I agree. And part of my hesitation is that we haven't done it before. Maybe it's a few presses of a button and I don't know it. So I certainly will go ahead and look into it. Okay.
The other,
There's no more.
the last future agenda item is that we've done, as a board, have done quite a lot of work with regards to trying to set up a vision for what we want to accomplish as a district, and would love to retake those conversations, making those public once we achieve agreement, once we finalize them.
Finalize them and then present them. Yeah. Okay. Ms. Hinch?
As far as announcements?
No, any other future?
No other
Okay.
no other agenda items.
I have one, and it has to go back to our service for Emery Go-Round. And since we now all pony up for that service, and so we should have a say in how that's provided. And I know riding the merry-go-round that I've seen students get on before, especially when Annie Yates was at the old site, would be able to use that. Now we're in a location where it doesn't really make sense, or it's more difficult for students to use it to walk to school or basically be transported to this facility. I think we should have a hard conversation with the city and the people in charge regarding maybe possible route change.
Yeah, absolutely. And the city used to talk about it a lot as we were coming into ECCL, and there hasn't been much mention of it in a
I
while.
think it's due time, because that is a valuable surface for it, because it's safe, it's close, and it's local. And because of that, it's a win-win for the user and the city and the school. So I just want to make sure that we start talking about that.
Could we put that on the city schools agenda?
I think you're right, but I just want to have something we should discuss first and see what we can do.
And I'm not sure, is it the city that runs it, or is it AC Transit? Is it the?
No, it's this.
It's run by the city?
It's run by the city.
Okay.
Because I think that, I think it's run by the city.
Okay.
Because they were clamoring for the money, and
Mhm.
so we did our end, so we would like something in return.
Sure.
I have no further. Okay, now it comes item 7, board reports, announcements. But first, I want to basically ask the 2 representatives at the end, since you didn't get a chance earlier, do you have student reports? No? No. All right. No. Okay. Okay, with that said, board reports, announcements. Anyone?
I wanted to announce that there is a youth job fair that particularly concentrates on 16 to 24-year-olds. It's going to be at the main library. I wondered if this could be posted somewhere for the high school students.
May I take that copy
Of
and give it to
course.
Ms. Good? That'd be great. We'll make sure Ms. Good gets it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Lynch, anything else? Okay.
Great.
Sparks.
Couple of topics. First, I attended our 2-day racial equity training with our teachers. It was a great experience for me personally. It helps you uncover a lot of feelings, a lot of good feelings, I think. It helps them put them in a very productive environment, I'd have to say. One of my key takeaways there is that our children are deserve that we all lead by example and treat each other as adults. And I saw a lot of passionate adults in that room in those 2 days, and I very much look forward to putting those learnings to work in all levels. So that was a great experience, needless to say. And then yesterday attended the first PTO meeting of the year. There were around 20 or 25 parents or so, and I wanted to gather thoughts around a potential future topic for the city schools meeting. And I asked parents in a way of an informal focus group what their thoughts were for SROs, for having an SRO, for that resource. In general, I'd say all but one parent had concerns or raised questions or concerns about those, about having an SRO resource. However, Mr. Wong was able to help us address them. The main sentiment that I gathered and that I'm relaying to the rest of the board and everybody here is that parents want to have, want to expose our kids to positive figures in the form of an SRO and officers, and that engagement. Parents have that appetite, and I heard multiple positive experiences of that happening, and I even though that's not within our control, we don't control that budget. I feel it's my duty and obligation to share what I gather was the sentiment for most of the parents that were present in that PTO meeting, and that we, as a board, collectively push this item in a future city schools meeting.
All right. Anything else?
We have a mathletes team now. Yep, mathletes team in the high school.
What, and so
Mathletes.
Mathletes?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
the new teacher wants us to like compete and stuff, so that might happen. most
All right.
likely.
Yeah.
We have a lot of students from AP Calculus that want to join, so.
That's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would you please let Ms. Emery know if something gets scheduled so we can make sure the board finds out?
Yeah.
Great.
Do the mathletes need anything?
Not right now, but we might once we actually start talking about it, planning, see who wants to join, and yeah.
All right.
Let us know, please.
All right.
Thank you.
Anything else? If that's the case, then we can adjourn.